Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, my international friends, joining me as we're here to talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all sorts of good stuff. And, of course, joining me here on this glorious Tuesday is one Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing, sir?
You know, John, I am doing great. I heard that the Hot Toys pre-order for the Stan Lee Guardians of the Galaxy figure 2 went to waitlist, but I got in on it.
You got in there very quickly. I might have to get on that one myself. And also joining us here today is actress Miss Erin Cummings. Erin, how are you doing?
I'm fantastic. I actually have my chair on hydraulics in case we have another earthquake today.
Yes, that was the last time you were here, wasn't it?
It was July 4th.
The earthquake day, and then we had another earthquake the next day. Funny thing, I was out at a restaurant because, you know, on the 4th, I had everything fall over in my office. The earthquake on the 5th, I was out having dinner. And so I was dreading, and it was stronger. I was dreading coming back and finding what state, but nothing moved. Everything in my office was perfectly fine. I'm like, yes, everything's good. And we are going to shake your world today, ladies and gentlemen. That's a terrible transition. With all sorts, we got a lot of stuff we got to talk about here, guys. Joker movie. Apparently, it's not going to be based on anything that's in the comics, not to mention our first good look at Robert De Niro coming face-to-face with the Joker. That's pretty good. Samuel Jackson has joined the Saw film. They've been talking about it for years, but it's coming out now. The spinoff to the Big Lebowski, The Jesus Rolls. That's coming out. We got information about that. New casting for Fast 9, all sorts of good stuff. But before we get to all that stuff, let's go right off the top here with this. You guys remember that the Mulan trailer dropped the other day. Around here, we loved it. I thought it looked epic in scope. It had a very 90s Spielbergian kind of feel to it. I thought it was great. Well, apparently we weren't the only ones looking forward to it, because according to reports right now, the Mulan trailer had the biggest launch for any trailer out of all Disney live action films in history, and it's the 7th biggest all-time trailer launch for any movie of any genre of any kind, putting it up there with, you know, Fast and the Furious, with Avengers Endgame, all that sorts of stuff, including 175 million views in the first 24 hours, with 52 million of those views coming from China itself. Rob, you know, the Mulan trailer came out and we were all pretty moved by it. We enjoyed it. We liked it. I, though, however, didn't sense there was that kind of anticipation, that people were really looking forward to seeing that first glimpse of it. Apparently we were. Were you surprised by that?
No, and especially hearing that, you know, more than 25% of those, or what is 50% of those views came from China or something.
30%.
30%, that's not surprising. I liked it. I mean, I watched it a couple times. I did my YouTube show about it yesterday. I think it was a great trailer. I really enjoyed it. It really made my interest level in Mulan actually jump much, much higher than it was. Yeah. So I think it did its job.
Yeah, and so Erin, like, you hear these numbers. Like, I know I've been curious about Mulan. I know a few people have been curious about Mulan. I was not prepared to see that many people were just waiting to jump on and watch that trailer. Were you sensing that sort of anticipation, or has it caught you by surprise as well?
Well, I think that it's indicative of what we're seeing in the industry, about how people are saying, hey, I want to see a different actors, and especially with the rise of with the popularity of Crazy Rich Asians, I hope that this also is an indicator to the film industry about how people want to see Asian actors as leading men and women and in the leading roles. I think it's really important, and Asian actors, far more than any other minority group, have been really left behind when it comes to those starring roles in major blockbuster films. So I think this is a really good indication of things to come, not just globally, but also domestically as well.
Yeah, and on top of, you know, the success of Crazy Rich Asians, we've got the sequels for that coming. We got Mulan. Marvel is moving in that direction as well. They got Shang-Chi coming out in the next couple of years as well. It's going to be really interesting to see what kind of what kind of momentum that builds in that direction. Question is, what do you guys think about it? Number one, what did you think about the Mulan trailer? But number two, are you surprised to see that many people apparently had been looking forward to checking it out? Jump down in the comments section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, let's move on to another off the top. This one I file under the category of humanity is completely hopeless. Now, you guys know I've said for a long time, I'm fine with reboots. I don't care about doing reboots. Reboot the greatest movies ever. I don't care. Reboot Godfather, do it. Reboot Star Wars, do it. It's fine to me, because if the reboot's good, we have another good movie to celebrate. If the reboot's bad, who cares? I still got the original. It's all good. However, just because you coulda doesn't mean you shoulda. They just had news come out this morning, and I'm still shaking my head about this. News just came out this morning that they are rebooting Look Who's Talking, the reboot. Now, to be fair, the original Look Who's Talking that had like, who is the girl in Cheers? Kirstie Alley. John Travolta, Bruce Willis doing the voice. They made that movie for $7.5 million. It made $300 million at the box office. Woo! However, the sequels, they'd Look Who's Talking 2 and then Look Who's Talking Electric Boogaloo. I don't know, remember what the third one was. The third one, though, holds the distinction of being one of the few big wide release Hollywood films to hold an absolute 0 on Rotten Tomatoes. And the box office plummeted. Nobody cared about it. Nobody wanted it. We had the gone viral dancing baby ad in 1999. I have no idea. Look, I'm not complaining about the nature of a reboot, but why would you reboot this? Is there anybody looking for a Look Who's Talking 2? I get Talking Baby. We just saw Boss Baby. We get the Talking. I just don't know why anybody in their right mind would greenlit this project. I don't see any purpose for it. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm being overly pessimistic. Erin, you hear about them doing it. Can you see why? What's the potential upside here?
Well, first of all, full disclosure, I don't really like other people's children, so I want them I want them for myself. But if they belong to someone else, I'm kind of like 5 minutes and I'm out. And I also think that dancing and talking babies, they're just creepy. They remind me. If I'm going to see that, I'd rather it be in a horror film. So that being said, yeah, I think the reason why Look Who's Talking, the original, did so well is think about when it came out. You know, Kirstie Alley and Bruce Willis were really, really hot at that time. So again, it wasn't like people went to a movie to see a talking baby. They went to see Bruce Willis as a talking baby. And so it makes a lot of sense why the subsequent films didn't do so well. And yeah, I have no idea. This is a head scratcher for me. I'm not into it, and I definitely will not be seeing it.
And at least at that time, that was still kind of a novel idea.
Sure, it was new. It was pre-Ally McBeal when the dancing baby, and I think that kind of ruined the whole like dancing talking baby thing for me. That was just too weird.
Rob, look, give me some hope here. What's the upside here? Why would you do something like this?
You wouldn't. The only upside here is that somebody looked on a spreadsheet and said, "What do we have? What franchises do we have that something became?" And they see that, like you pointed out, $7 million spend, and we made $300 million domestic. Now nobody takes into account all of the other factors, such as when the movie came out, as you pointed out. The world moves on. These were novelties. Look, nobody got rich in Hollywood following a trend. You get rich in Hollywood setting trends. Ooh. Look at Stranger Things. Stranger Things 3 is still a phenomenon because it's year after year after year, bang, it comes out. If you were going to make a Stranger Things 20 years from now, would it be as popular? I don't know. I mean, Look Who's Talking is an old, moribund franchise. Let it lie. Make something new that no one's seen before, that you might strike. I don't know, lightning will strike for you and you will make lots of money. You're not going to make lots of money rebooting Look Who's Talking. Did they make a lot of money rebooting Chucky and Child's Play?
Yeah. I get, to me, it's not just that franchise. It's the whole shtick of it. Oh, that's what talking baby. Yeah. I mean, it's not the franchise itself is bad enough, but then it's the whole thing. So I don't know. I'm not going to be surprised if this doesn't actually see the light of day. Now watch this. It comes out and we all think it's the greatest comedy of all time.
Well, it depends on who's the voice of the baby. Because if Sam Jackson is the voice of the baby, I'm going to see that mother effing movie.
Yeah, first of all, if it's R-rated, if it's R-rated, Killer Red Band trailer, and like, but then again, you know, how long can you make that joke last?
Right, exactly.
I don't know. Sam Jackson could probably make it last a long time.
He'll make it last a while.
Watch, it's going to be an R-rated movie now.
What do you guys think about this? Maybe you guys see some potential upside that we're not seeing yet. I want to hear your thoughts. Jump down in the comment section below and let me know what you guys think about that. All right. The final off the top topic here today takes us into the realm of an upcoming movie this weekend. Now, a lot of us are talking about Stuber that's opening this weekend. Very excited to see Stuber. Looks really funny. But the other film that's opening alongside of it is one that came out of nowhere. We saw the trailers and we loved the trailers, and that was for the new little horror film Crawl. Like, I don't know what it was, but I remember, Rob, when we did the show, when they dropped this trailer, and like we weren't anticipating, we didn't know what this trailer. Yeah, that's right. It was at CinemaCon. They dropped it for us at CinemaCon, and we were just like, this looks so utterly ridiculous, and I am so on board with this. Like, we were just really, it just looked ridiculously fun. Well, the first reactions for Crawl are now out, and they are just off the chart. People love this movie. Apparently, it's really short. It's like right around 90 minutes total. They're saying it's compact, it's tight, it's all thrills. Here's some of the things that some of the people, some of the critics and the film pundits who have seen the movie are now talking about. Eric Wokulski writes, Crawl is a genuine delight. Short, no filler, no muss, no fuss. 90 or so minutes filled with tension and jolts. See it with the crowd. William Bibiani, who we all know, wrote, Crawl movie is my kind of movie. Efficient, scary, funny, okay, kind of dumb, and with an exhilarating sense of cosmic hopelessness where everything that could possibly go wrong does, which makes for a really good time in the theater. Definitely a film to see with the crowd. Jenna on camera writes, The Crawl is a stressful summer movie. I was entertained at the edge of my seat the whole time, and I don't know who asked Scottish, I'm guessing that's the lead girl, is great. The continue on. Sarah Musnicki writes, man, Crawl had my heart pumping the entire time. Hurricanes are terrifying by itself, but throw in gators and a doggo in peril, and the adrenaline rush is real. Ugh, sugar, my heart, my heart. Scott Baumgartner writes, Crawl is an absolute blast, taught ferocious filmmaking. I've never seen a concept so simple executed with such bravado and precision. And the final one we'll look at here is Heather Wixon writes, just saw Crawl and it was a total blast. Also, if I never step foot in Florida again, I am completely okay with that. Gators are scary as hell. And I'll tell you what, I could have put 20 more of these, but they were all just basically saying the same thing. The common refrains that we're getting out of this are super scary, completely thrilling. It's nonstop from the start moment it starts to finishes. There are no wasted frames. Like there's just, this is not like a lot of times I'll see a movie, could have probably had better pacing. You shave 15 minutes out. Everybody's saying there's not a single wasted frame in this. It's great hearing this kind of reaction coming out of an indie style, low budget, kind of a thrill ride, little cheap horror. And it's great to hearing people having so much fun at it. And it's just taken my expectation level up another couple of notches. Rob, you just heard the reactions that other people are having. I know you loved the first time we saw a trailer. I know you were really kind of bumping up and down in your seat about it. What does this do to your expectations hearing these reactions?
I'm deliriously excited for this movie because we have lost I would call it the ferocious B movie. Somebody said ferocious in your quotes. We don't get those anymore. Like, I used to go to the theater and I would go see The Terminator. The first Terminator was a movie that came out of nowhere. You didn't expect anything from it. It was some sci-fi robot thing. You came out going, oh my God, this is a filmmaker that really knows what they're doing. Jack Shoulders' The Hidden. The movie The Hidden that New Line released, where it begins with somebody driving a Ferrari through MacArthur Park, killing a bunch of people, and then there's an alien who's taking over bodies. I mean, it was great. We have totally lost the joys of low-budget, theatrically released B-movie making. It's all become either silly, like the Sharknado franchise. My apologies to Anthony Ferrante, a friend of mine who directed those. But we don't have movies like this anymore. And I think we get a few. We'll get like a Don't Breathe. But something like this, 90 minutes in and out, a gut punch. I miss that. And if this works, maybe Hollywood will be no longer stupid and continue to make these movies and release them theatrically. Because that's what we need. Original B horror and sci-fi that goes for the throat.
You know, we've been seeing a little bit of research. Like you mentioned Don't Breathe, which I thought was great.
I loved it.
I had a great time with Lights Out.
Yeah.
And we've seen over the last couple of years, like some movies like this coming out. And also one of the things that one of them said that I love it when a movie puts me in a position where as an audience member is like, there's no way out. You're totally screwed. Like I just love that feeling. Anyway, Erin, you're hearing about this movie. You're hearing the reactions. What does this do to your enthusiasm for it?
Actually, I'm going to say I was a little pessimistic at first because I saw the trailer for this in the theater and I immediately went, whoop, too much water, not going to go see that.
Too much
I know
water.
it's a weird thing. As an actor, and I know that this is a total actor thing because I didn't feel this way before, having done scenes in water, every time I see a movie where someone is in water, all I think about is, oh my God, how long did that take to shoot? God, they must have been freezing. Oh, their fingers were so cold. Oh, da, da, da. And I just think about the actual feeling of filming a water scene. And this whole movie takes place in the water. So I was originally not too keen on it, but after seeing these reviews and also hearing Rob's enthusiasm, it's hard for me not to want to go see it. And I love what a lot of these critics are saying of go see it in a theater with a packed crowd, because I do think that that is going to make a big difference. You know, we talked right before we started airing how I said I'm going to go see Stuber this weekend, probably going to wait to see Crawl. But now I might have to flip-flop that or see them both, because Crawl sounds like a movie that I'm really going to enjoy a lot more in a crowded theater than I am in my living room.
Then that's a huge thing, right? Like, I love it when you get those big crowd experiences, whether it's with an Endgame or a horror film like Crawl,
or
whatever.
Snakes on a Plane.
Or Snakes on a Plane.
Which is similar
whatever.
vibe, I feel like.
So the question is, guys, are you, I'll be honest with you, I'm surprised to hear these reactions. I mean, it looked like a fun little thing, but not really something that a lot of people usually come out loving. I'm shocked to hear these reactions, and it makes me excited. What do you guys think about these reactions coming out for Crawl? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, with the off the tops out of the way, it's now time for us to move into our main topics today. How do we select our main topics on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. See, you guys come up with them by going to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, fill out the form, hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your topic or question featured here on the John Campea Show. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to our first main topic today. And our first topic today is submitted to us from Lewis Hall, who writes, I just saw that Fast 9 is bringing back Helen Mirren and Charlize Theron for Fast 9. I'm excited for this because I love Cypher in Fast 8, but I'm more interested in Helen as Shaw's mother. Does this mean Statham's back? Would that be weird with no Rock to play off of? Bring on the filthy. All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. Appreciate that. And yes, the official news came out yesterday, I believe, that Helen Mirren, who of course did a short spot in Fast 8 as the Shaw's mother. She's the matriarch of the Shaw family. And Charlize Theron, who is the main big baddie in 8, are both coming back. How big or how small of a role they're going to be playing, I don't know. I don't believe we're going to see Jason Statham in this movie. I don't think at all. It's possible we could see Luke Evans back again because he made a short appearance in Fast 8. That's possible as well. And will Charlize Theron be the big baddie again? Or will they pull a Shaw and make her part of the family now? Who knows what they're going to do? Now, here are the details. For those of you just finding out about this or hearing about this, here are the details. The last we saw of cyber terrorist Cypher, she had been foiled by the gang after blackmailing Dom, Vin Diesel, into betraying his family and helping her run amok across the world. She dove out of a plane and escaped, leading many to believe she would be back for more. As for Mirren Shaw, she made a cameo appearance as the mother of Owen and Deckard Shaw, Luke Evans and Jason Statham, in Fate and Furious, and will also have a role in next month's Hobbs and Shaw. So we're going to have Helen Mirren popping up in 2 of these movies within probably 18 months of each other. She's going to be in Hobbs and Shaw. She's going to be in the next Fast 9, obviously. Again, though, no indication here about how big or small these roles are going to be. Are they going to pop up for a scene or 2? Are they going to play a significant role in it? Don't really know yet. We're going to have to wait and find out. Rob, let's go over to you on this. You hearing about, number one, Charlize Theron coming back. We've got for the Forever Royal, Helen Mirren is going to be in there. You are a big fan of the Fast franchise.
Yep.
Do you like the idea of them going back and bringing back these old characters again? Would you rather them have moved on? Does this excite you? Does this concern you? How do you react to this?
First of all, I love it. Now, I know. I mean, people have to look at the Fast and Furious franchise the way it was intended, the way God wanted you to look at the Fast and Furious franchise. And I admittedly, I love this movie. Fast 5 to me is the Citizen Kane of the franchise. But bringing back Charlize Theron in anything, come on, she's Furiosa now and forever. I love her to death. But Helen Mirren, there's 2 things I feel about bringing Helen Mirren back. One, I've loved Helen Mirren since she was in Caligula, kids.
Oh, wow.
She was also in 2010, and I've loved her to death. But because she's Shaw's mother, they can bring her back and they can torture her to death because we might finally get justice for Han because it was her son that killed Han in Fast 5, as we found in Fast 7.
So you want to visit the sins of the children on the parents?
Absolutely, because why not? That's why I'm going to get my justice for Han. But if not, I love Helen Mirren. She's a great presence. She can stay anywhere she wants in whatever movie franchise she wants for as long as she wants because I love her to death.
Yeah, I mean, she's forever will be the queen.
And I can't wait for this.
Yeah, I'm excited about it, but Erin, Is this going back to the well too much? Should they be moving forward with it? Or do you think this plays into the strength of Fast and Furious franchise of bringing back all these characters people recognize? Good move or bad move to bring back Mirren and Theron?
If the well has water, why would you not drink from it?
Yeah.
And also, if the water is Helen Mirren and Charlize Theron, yes, you keep going back. I agree with Rob. I don't think anyone's ever going to get sick of Helen Mirren or Charlize Theron. I think both of those women walk on water for me. And one of the things that that sticks out for me is I really love how this male-dominated franchise is embracing bringing women in, and not just women who, look like Michelle Rodriguez. I mean, Michelle Rodriguez, her toughness walks in the room before she does, whereas Helen Mirren and Charlize Theron have both proven themselves as action, females, action heroes, but at the same time, they err a little bit more on the side of feminine. They bring a different energy. And I like women being incorporated into a male-dominated franchise versus what we saw in like Ocean's 13, where they go, now we're going to do it with the girls.
Right.
And I was like, nice try, but I would rather just have like the boys invite the girls to the table versus saying, well, we have our franchise, now we'll give you one and everyone will know that that's the girl version. I feel like incorporating these female characters and bringing them back is just saying, hey, yeah, they're part of the family and they sit at the table just like we do.
Yeah, and talking about action, I think Charlize Theron comes out of one of the most underrated action films of the last 5 or 6 years with Atomic Blonde. I love that movie.
Yeah.
It's exciting, it's sexy, it's all that kind of stuff. And I loved Helen Mirren in Red. Remember Red?
Great.
I love Helen Mirren in Red. So there's stuff there for that.
There's
Rob.
both of those actresses. I mean, Charlize Theron's an Academy Award winning. She played Eileen Wuornos in Monster,
and so is Helen Mirren.
Patty
Yeah, so
Jenkins
is Helen
Monster,
Mirren.
and so is Helen Mirren. So you got Academy Award caliber actresses in the 9th Fast and Furious movie.
They want to have fun. They want to have fun.
And apparently, in the little video that Vin Diesel made, this announcement that those two are coming back, apparently then, this is going over, apparently, I didn't see it myself, but everybody's saying he completely butchered John Cena's name. I guess he referred to John Cena as John Cena and just kept referring to him as John Cena. Doesn't even know how to pronounce his last name. Whatever. Doesn't really matter. Hey guys, what do you think about this? Are you excited to hear that these two, like becoming both legendary performers, are coming back in the franchise? Do you think maybe this is a mistake and they should have gone off in a different direction? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. Okay, with that down, let's move on to main topic number 2. And our second main topic today comes to us from one of our Patreon supporters, Lizard King. Thanks for being a Patreon supporter, Lizard King. Hey, John, first day as a Patreon supporter. Well, thank you for joining, dude. Love the show. So Todd Phillips just said that his Joker does not follow any of the comics, that he wanted to show a unique way of how someone can become the Joker. I might be in the minority, but I think this is an awesome idea. What are your thoughts? All right, thanks a lot for the sending that in, Lizard King. And yes, for those of you who didn't hear about it, Todd Phillips has now basically come out and said directly, there is no connection between this Joker and any specific comic book material. Here's exactly what was being said. This is from Todd Phillips. We didn't follow anything from the comic books, which people are going to be mad about. We just wrote our own version of where a guy like Joker might come from. That's what was interesting to me. We're not even doing Joker, but the story of becoming Joker. It's all about this man. Now, Rob, what Todd Phillips is saying here is 100% consistent with what we heard from Joaquin Phoenix almost a year ago in talking about why he chose to even do a movie like this. We heard Joaquin Phoenix before talk about the fact that what attracted him to this, what made it so compelling, was it wasn't about necessarily a comic book villain. It was about what happens to a man that would drive him to becoming that. And he said it was very character-centric, all that kind of stuff. So what he's saying is pretty consistent. And I think some people are being jarred by hearing this isn't going to be connected to anything in the comics. Remember, for the most part, a lot of the comic book movies we see are very little connected to what's in the comic books quite often. And really, Rob, I think it's fair to say that with the Joker, there is no definitive origin story for the Joker. There have been several different iterations told of where the Joker comes from, most of which conflict with each other. So none of that is really there. This sounds consistent to me all along, even though hearing Todd Phillips' words may sound a little bit jarring. How do you react to his statement?
Well, John, as you might imagine, this is right up my alley. I mean, to me, this is exactly the way you approach a movie like this, because depending on what era of Joker you first encountered the character, whether it was the 50s Joker, the 60s Joker, the 70s Joker, the Cesar Romero Joker on the 66 Batman TV show, or Jack Nicholson's Joker, or Heath Ledger's Joker, there is no real definitive Joker. And what this movie is positing is, how could a Joker character, how could someone like the Joker become a real threat to us today? I mean, I know at the beginning of the script, there's on the first script page, it says, say this movie takes place in maybe 1981. So it's also a period piece. But it's an examination of our culture through the eyes of what began as a comic book character. And that's pretty great. I mean, I'm like, that. My interest level on this movie is peaked 100%. I mean, it's at the however high the needle can go, it's right there. Because think about the great anti-hero character studies, whether it's A Clockwork Orange, whether it's Travis Bickle in Taxi Driver. These are all men or women, Eileen Wuornos in Monster, that were created by the modern age. These are our monsters. And to see how a monster such as a Joker-esque character, the Joker gets us into the theaters, but it's really about any one of us. Just like you've always said, one bad day.
Just one bad day.
Could turn any of us into a Joker. And that really excites me as far as the movie's going. And kudos to Warner Brothers for letting the film get made.
And listen, to your point, you brought up Taxi Driver. I just want to throw in here, too, Empire just put out a first image of Robert De Niro coming face to face with the Joker in this, which is chilling to me. And with the release of this image, Todd Phillips told the story about when he first sat down with Robert De Niro about the movie, and he said, I told him this is largely based on and influenced by Taxi Driver and what was it, King of Comedy?
Yeah.
And he said, like your films, that's what this is really based on. And he said that helped Robert De Niro really get an understanding of the direction, how of a different comic book movie this was really going to be for the character.
De Niro looks great there, by the way.
Oh, De Niro looks wonderful. I want to see this scene.
Yeah.
I want to see this scene so badly. Anyway, Erin, you're hearing, number one, we're looking at this Joker movie, which looks unlike anything else we've seen from a comic book character thing, much like Logan was very different looking from anything we've seen in the comic book genre. And now you're hearing that he's really not connecting it much to comic books at all, but rather just wants to focus on the character and what would drive a man from being one thing to becoming the Clown Prince of Crime, the most notorious comic book villain maybe ever of all time. Do you think this is the right approach he's taken to disassociate it from existing comic book material?
Absolutely. I mean, already we've seen so many, as Rob was saying, so many different versions of the Joker. I noticed you didn't bring up the Jared Leto version. Anyway, moving on.
I like Jared Leto's Joker. I feel like I'm the only guy in the room.
I'm a Jared Leto fan. I mean, Mr. Nobody is one of my favorite science fiction films of the last decade, and he was incredible in it. But
he's a wonderful actor, no doubt.
Yeah, I just didn't bring him up.
So,
Busted.
It was conspicuous there. However, I do think we have seen a lot of different, like Rob said, a lot of different versions of his story as it's integrated with other comic book characters. But as a standalone story, I don't really see why it has to be connected to the comic book. I love an origin story, and there's really not much for me to say here because Rob said it so beautifully, and I mean that with all sincerity. I was really moved by what you were saying because you're absolutely right. Monsters are around us every day, and they are products of their environment. So I think that this is probably not just going to be a story about a familiar character that we all know, but really a lesson in how we as a society are helping to create these monsters and what we can maybe do to help curb that.
Which is what I think one of the most exciting aspects of this thing. So the question, guys, is to you. We hear the words. I understand they sound a little jarring at first. We're not connecting it to the comic book movie, but when you really think about it, is that so unusual? But now that you thought about it a little bit, what do you think about these statements? Are you still looking forward to this movie? Jump down in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's move on to the third main topic today. And our third main topic today gets sent in to us from Tim Verrote, who writes, Is this some sort of crazy upside down town? I was really surprised when I heard that Chris Rock was doing a new Saw reboot, but this morning I found out that Samuel L. Jackson is going to be in it too. Rock and Jackson. I don't want to read too much into it, but is this Saw going to be full comedy or is it still going to be horror? I love both of these guys forever, but it just seems like a weird match. Your thoughts? All right, and for those of you guys who might have missed it before, the news came out of nowhere a couple weeks ago. Chris Rock was going to be producing and apparently starring in a brand new reboot of Saw, which sounded on its surface kind of like a weird match. Then there were rumors going around that some people saw Samuel L. Jackson around the set of Saw, and apparently now that's official too. So here's what the official word is. This is what comes out of the news story right now. Production has officially begun on the film, in which Rock will play a police detective investigating a series of grisly crimes. Jackson will portray Rock's father. Max Minghella, who stars in Hulu's The Handmaid's Tale, I love him in that show, by the way, and recently directed Teen Spirit, also joins the cast as the partner of Rock's character. Riverdale actress Marisol Nichols will play a police captain. So it sounds like they're going this way. And I'll tell you what, the first question, and maybe it shouldn't be, the first question that pops in my head is, who's going to be Jigsaw? Now, that's what I'm curious about right now. Like, if maybe it's going to be Rock's father. Maybe it's going to be Samuel Jackson playing Jack. I mean, I don't know which way they're going. Look, I'll admit, as much as anybody, I was taken aback a little bit when I found out that Chris Rock, who I love Chris Rock's comedy, but as doing this, and now I got to say, I've moved beyond bewildered to intrigued. Now at this point, I'm really intrigued. Because everything I'm hearing sounds like they're still going to make this a horror film. When you guys got guys like Samuel Jackson, Chris Rock, I'm sure it's going to have a comedy element as well. But it sounds like this is not just a spoof movie, which I kind of thought maybe at first it would be. It sounds like they're going full throttle on this. I don't know. At this point, I'm intrigued. I'm not going to pretend I'm jumping up and down about it, but I've gone beyond the surprise and now I'm intrigued. Erin, you're hearing about the first Chris Rock doing Saw. Samuel Jackson coming on board with them. The rest of the cast seems to be rounding out pretty nicely. I'm sure we're going to find out about Jigsaw a little bit later. But anyway, where's your anticipation level right now for a movie like a Saw reboot?
Well, first of all, I have none. I really don't need to see people cutting people open and finding keys and things like that. However, I'm actually intrigued by this, not because of Chris Rock, not because of Sam Jackson, but because of the addition to that duo of Max Minghella. Because, first of all, I love him in Handmaid's Tale. But what I'm seeing here is, I thought it was kind of going to be a campy, spoofy, snakes on a plane kind of thing. That's come up twice today by me. However, with Max Minghella being his partner, I'm seeing almost like a Lethal Weapon duo, except switch. Because let's remember, Chris Rock is also older now. He's not like he was when he was originally doing his stand-up and there for shock value. And he's also got a larger overall role in this film. I'm thinking that, him playing a little bit of a larger character, but with the comedy of that Mel Gibson's character brought to Lethal Weapon, it wasn't over the top, but Mel Gibson was kind of the comedic element, whereas like Max Minghella, being the younger cop, yet would still, I think, play a more serious version like Danny Glover.
Yes.
Okay, yes. DeVito was popping in my head. I thought that was wrong. So similarly to Danny Glover and that dynamic that they had, I think kind of reversed. I think that's going to be a really interesting dynamic. And again, Sam Jackson, he does no wrong.
Yeah, and we do forget sometimes that Chris Rock he's 54 years old now.
Yeah.
He does not look like that, and he does not come across like that at all, but we forget that sometimes. Rob, you're looking at this. Do you think that this sort of a number one, a matchup between Rock and Jackson, I mean, obviously that looks good on just about any movie poster, Rock and Jackson together, but in something like a Saw, where's your head at right now with this?
Well, what I find interesting is that we saw Jordan Peele, who came from comedy, do Get Out. Well, if you know any comedians, they're always one step away from the horrors of the world. I mean, their comedy, a lot of it comes out of a dark place. And I think that Chris Rock probably found something that a way into the Saw franchise, because to be honest, the first 3 Saw movies are really good. I think it's a trilogy that, I know it's much more than a trilogy now, but the first 3 Saw movies are diabolical fun, as far as I'm concerned. I really enjoyed them. I like that franchise. I think Chris Rock is probably, I think he wrote this as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
I think he found a way into this that we might not have thought of, because they've done so much with the Saw franchise. This had to have been different. This had to have been something. And I think Chris Rock, I know it seems left field, but I'll bet you he's come up with a really interesting take on this franchise, and we're going to experience what it is. So I'm excited simply because of his involvement and to see what his take is. I mean, I've always loved him as a comedian, and he's never shied away from dark social subjects. And I think that this might be, I suspect, with Sam Jackson involved, and as you pointed out, Max Minghella, who's the son of one of my favorite directors, Anthony, who directed English Patient. I'm really excited for this movie for some reason.
Well, the question is, guys, what are you thinking about this Saw reboot? I know a lot of you were as staggered as a lot of everybody else when you heard that Chris Rock saw what, but now you got Samuel Jackson. The cast is rounding out. You've had a little bit to sit on it. What are you guys thinking about this Saw reboot at this point? Jump down in the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to our fourth main topic today. And our fourth main topic today gets sent in to us from Highman Highway, who writes, "Greetings, guys. This just hit out of nowhere, but apparently John Turturro is doing a Big Lebowski spinoff called Jesus Rolls. It's actually The Jesus Rolls, based on his Jesus character. How did something like this come together and none of us even heard about it? It's even got a release date now. I love the Jesus character, but isn't it like way too late for a Lebowski spinoff? And well, what do you think?" All right. Yeah, for those of you who did not hear, there is a Big Lebowski spinoff film coming based on the John Turturro character. Here's a little bit about the film that we know right now. A trio of misfits whose irreverent, sexually charged dynamic evolves into a surprising love story as their spontaneous and flippant attitude towards the past or future backfires time and time again, even as they inadvertently perform good deeds. When they make enemies with a gun-toting hairdresser, their journey becomes one of constant escape from the law, from society, and from the hairdresser. All while the bonds of their outsider family strengthen. And this is, of course, a picture of Turturro, a new picture of Turturro as the Jesus. Here's an interesting fact about this. This isn't just actually out of nowhere. This film shot in late 2015.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, this movie's actually been out for a while. The first promotion for the film came out in 2016, and they were originally hoping to get a 2017 release date. It got scuttered off to a shelf somewhere, has been sitting around for a couple of years, and apparently now it's got a new distributor, and they are saying early 2020, The Jesus Rolls will come out. Guys, I think they raise an interesting question here. Like, Big Lebowski was what, 98? 98, 99? We're talking 20 years since this thing. We're talking about a relatively small character from that movie. A very fun character nonetheless, but a relatively small one. Erin, let me start with you on this.
Okay.
Number one, are you surprised to hear this movie's getting made, even though it's kind of been on the shelf now for a couple of years? And number two, is it too late to do something like this, or do you think there could still be a market for it?
It's never too late for a Big Lebowski spinoff, and I'm craving a White Russian as we speak. I mean, I still hear Big Lebowski references all the time.
All the time.
All the time. And of people of varying ages. I mean, I remember when I was living in New York just a couple of years ago, I went to a Central Park screening of it out in the park, and there were thousands of people there all quoting the movie along with the characters. The only thing that I can immediately tell is maybe a reason why this film has been sitting on the shelves is because the Jesus was not wearing his bowling onesie.
Right. So
that I think is a problem, because that is definitely a look that I enjoyed and I want to see a lot more of, as well as the bowling glove and the long pinky nail. He is a character that did stand out in such a way, and I would be surprised. I mean, obviously the film is already made, so people know. I would be surprised if we didn't see some really fun cameos from John Goodman and some of the other people that were in the movie, because it seemed like such a classic film that people really enjoyed doing. Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges.
My last names are not working today.
And you know, to your point about there's still a lot of people that quote it and talk about it and all that kind of stuff. I mean, remember at Super Bowl? It was before the Super Bowl, because Jeff Bridges gets back in the Lebowski outfit for that, I think it was a beer commercial. that he did with Sarah Jessica Parker and a few other people. But still images came out a week or two before the ad, and nobody knew what it was for. And all you had was everybody around the world putting up these tweets that's like, God, yes, tell me this is true, because everybody kind of thought it was a Big Lebowski sequel. So there is still a big hunger for this stuff, Rob. But anyway, you're hearing this. Number one, are you curious to see this movie? Number two, is it too late? Or is it, as Erin was saying, never too late for a Big Lebowski sequel?
I'm with Erin. It's never too late for a Big Lebowski sequel, because that movie has permeated our culture unlike many movies have. And we even had Jeff Bridges made a presentation at one of his friends, I forget who it was, the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and he put on the Big Lebowski character, and everybody got it. And I think that this, to make this kind of a film, and I read that the brothers gave their blessing, the Coen brothers gave their blessing to this film. I just like the fact that somebody did this. It's the kind of that we live in a world. I know what it's like. I'm working on a movie that's been made since 2015. I know what that's like, and they stuck to their guns. They probably made it out of love with a very low budget. I hope it's funny. I hope it works. I think it sounds pretty bonkers, but I just love the fact we do live in a world. I mean, the fact that this is the kind of sequel that gets made is a lot more fun than, say, a Men in Black International to me. I'd much rather see something like this, as long as it's good. If it turns out to be horrific, then, well, I'll eat my words.
How do you think it's going to do?
Well, the Big Lebowski was never a huge hit.
That's true.
It's like, I don't know. Here's another thing about Hollywood. Because we all love these things, we just think that the world outside is going to embrace them as well. Like, hey, let's spend $170 million on a Blade Runner sequel, which, by the way, is one of the greatest sequels ever made. But Blade Runner never made any money. The only people that love Blade Runner are people like us, film fans. I know, John, you're not even a big fan of Blade Runner, but they spent $170 million making it, and it made no money, even though it's one of the greatest science fiction films ever made. I love Blade Runner 2049. But they thought it was going to make money. Why? I don't know. This movie, if they make it for, probably cost 2 cents to make this movie.
Yeah, probably bus fare.
And putting it out, I think this film actually has a shot of making some money based on what it cost. But I don't understand why they don't do more of this.
And it's interesting that it's been sitting on a shelf.
Right. That makes me wonder if there is something that maybe needs to be retooled and retweaked. But also, another thought just popped in my head about the references to it. Hello, Thor in Endgame. He was the Big Lebowski, and they modeled his character.
They name checked it.
They even
named it. They were like, I think it's like Iron Man says, "What's up with you, Big Lebowski?"
Yeah,
that's exactly it.
And he was walking around essentially being that character. So I think that the references are very strong, very true, but maybe there is something that needs to be retweaked. And with this new resurgence of interest in the film, maybe that's what we'll get.
Okay, quick number, over under. Okay. Rob, start with you. Over under 35%. Jeff Bridges makes a cameo in this film. Over under 35%.
Over.
Over 35%. Erin?
Over.
I'm going to take under, but it would be great. It would seem like a real missed opportunity if they don't do that. Anyway, guys, what do you think about this? Are you excited for the Jesus roles? Or are you like, nah, I'd be excited for a Big Lebowski too, but not so much Jesus. Let me know what you guys think. Jump down in the comment section below and leave your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to the final main topic today. And the final main topic today comes to us from one of our Patreon supporters, Jeff Bingham, who writes, by the way, and thanks for being a Patreon supporter, Jeff. It was just announced that Red Notice from the director Rawson Marshall Thurber, I don't know if I'm ever saying his name right, starring Dwayne Johnson and Gal Gadot, has cast Ryan Reynolds and has also moved from Universal to Netflix. While I can't wait to watch Reynolds throw quips at Johnson, the move to Netflix seems unusual. While I can understand hesitation from Universal to make this after Thurber's last movie Skyscraper underperformed with a big budget, this seems to clearly go against Netflix's report to scale back on larger budget films. Your thoughts? Well, first thing we should mention is that, remember, Netflix didn't say they weren't going to do anything big budget anymore. They were just going to cut back on how many of those projects they did. They were going to be more picky about them. For argument's sake, if you're going to do a big budget one that's got Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Ryan Reynolds in it is probably one of the ones you're going to look at and doing. I'm going to say this. On Netflix's part, they're saying they dropped $130 million. They're saying this might be the most expensive thing they've ever paid money for. To me, this is going to sound weird. It is both complete desperation on Netflix's part and yet a smart move. Now, often we think a desperate move is the opposite of the right move, but I think this is a situation where they're both at play here. I think this is an act of desperation on Netflix's part. Look, they know the looming shadow of Disney Plus is fast approaching. They have to do things to make themselves try to stay as the king of the hill in here. Spending money like this on a movie like this is a move that just reeks of that desperation, but it doesn't preclude it from also being probably the right thing to do and capturing a movie like this. But guys, I'm going to tell you what. I'll tell you why this movie's gone to Netflix. It's because Universal realized we're probably going to lose money on this movie. And here's why. You mentioned in the message about Skyscraper didn't do well. Skyscraper lost the studio money. The movie made, now these are the last 4 major films directed by Ross and Marshall Thurber. And look, it made $304 million. But the budget was so big, it actually lost money. And you got Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in it, an action film with Dwayne Johnson that lost money. That doesn't happen often. His film before that was Central Intelligence, which, by the way, I really liked. I got a big kick out of Central Intelligence. I thought it was a lot of fun. But the film, despite the fact having 2 of the biggest stars in the world with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Kevin Hart, it only managed to make $216 million. Now, because it was such a cheap movie to make, I think it was actually profitable, but still, it only made $216 million. The film before that, another one that I really like that he made, We're the Millers. I had a lot of fun with this movie. Not exactly drawing in big blockbuster numbers, though, made $269 million. And absolutely my favorite film on this list. Absolutely my favorite film that he's ever directed. Dodgeball, Nobody Makes Me Bleed My Own Blood. Only managed to make $167 million. Now, granted, much like Central Intelligence, very small budget movie, probably profitable. Red Notice is not a small budget movie. This is a movie that costs a ton of money. And the way the reports are going is that while Universal had already announced a release date for Red Notice, that's the movie with Ryan Reynolds and Dwayne Johnson coming out, they already announced a release date. They had deadlines in the contract that Ross and Marshall had to submit the outline, the script, and the budget. And at that point, Universal balked and said, you know what? We're sorry. The track record just isn't there for us to feel confident that we could put this in theater, because you did 2 movies with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson before, and neither of them got much over $300 million. And that is going to make us lose money if we do it again. And so Universal, although it sounds weird, guys, to say, hey, back in a movie with Dwayne Johnson and Ryan Reynolds might not be a good idea. That sounds ridiculous to say. But when you look at the track record and you look at the history in the last 2 films that this guy's done, and I love a lot of his movies, but it doesn't justify, the history and the facts don't justify spending that kind of money. Universal balked. They needed a new buyer. The second place bidder for their film before was Netflix. They went back to Netflix. Boom, now it's going there. And look, I'm never excited when I hear a movie's going direct to Netflix, like ever. Although I loved Always Be My Maybe. I had a lot of fun with that one. But it's never really a good thing. So, I don't know, Rob, I'm characterizing this as a desperation move that is probably at the same time also the right move. When you're looking at this situation, how do you evaluate it and how would you characterize it?
Well, there's a great article that dropped yesterday in Forbes that talked about Netflix and their future and how Netflix it's very well valued as a company. The stock price is up. Everybody's excited about it, but they're losing 50% of what makes them attractive to people. They're losing shows like The Office and like Friends. All those things are going to be pulled off. Disney Plus, as you pointed out, taking off the Star Wars movies, taking off the Avengers films, all the Marvel movies. They're all going away. So Netflix is trying to shore up their defenses from the onslaught of these other streaming services, whether it's Disney Plus, whether it's Warner Brothers, whether it's Universal. And what's happening is the only way they're going to get people to come to Netflix, to keep coming to Netflix, to keep their subscriber base from eroding, is to create or offer brand new A-list programming that you can't get anywhere else.
Right.
That's what's going to keep their subscriber base. And while they've spent a ton of money on all kinds of different, anything under the sun, whether it's telenovelas, whether it's documentaries from foreign countries, they're just putting everything on Netflix, but they don't have anything prestigious. They don't have anything where people go, we have to go to Netflix and see that. Aside from, say, a Stranger Things,
Right.
which became a huge blockbuster, but that was theirs, so good on them. But that's one thing. This is, I think, their first foray into big budget action filmmaking with one of the biggest movie stars in the world, if not both, if you include Ryan Reynolds. You've got The Rock and you have Ryan Reynolds. I mean, these are two people. How do you go wrong if you're Netflix? Well, how you go wrong is they're not really a production company and they don't promote. They're going to expect, I mean, are they going to open this theatrically first? How are they going to do this? Because you and I both know, we talk about it all the time. How do you even promote this movie's out? Like, are they going to say, are they going to take out billboards for it other than in other markets other than LA? I think it's strange. I think you're right. I think it's desperation, and it's a great move, because if this movie is a hit, if it is great, people will keep their Netflix subscriptions hoping to get more movies like this one.
Yeah, and they've done great with their series. They just don't have a great track record with their movies, with a few very notable exceptions. Most of their original films are just terrible, and most people still haven't even heard of Always Be My Maybe. Like,
Right.
most people still haven't even heard of that thing. I think it's the best original film they've got on their service. Anyway, Erin, you're seeing this. Big stars, big project people are talking about. It was sitting at Universal. You look at this situation and how it's evolved. What's your reaction to it?
I mean, I really hope for the sake of Netflix that it does very well.
Yeah.
I'm with Rob. I just don't think that it's a good business move. I mean, I understand it, but I am concerned.
Yeah, when I kind of think of this in terms of a sports analogy. You know, free agency comes along in sports, and the best players available may not be all that great, but they're the best players available, and they end up getting the biggest contracts than anybody else. Do you know how many quarterbacks in the NFL make more money than Tom Brady? I like 8 of them. Like 8 quarterbacks in the NFL make more money than Tom Brady because they hit free agency and they're the best thing available, so they get overpaid. I feel like Netflix is kind of in that situation right now. They desperately need big, high-profile stuff like this, and they're overpaying. And they're paying for things they shouldn't probably be paying for. But at the same time, I think you guys articulated it beautifully. They're in a position where they need it. They need to have these big things. They need to have these big hits. And maybe this is something to do. And who knows? Maybe having a film like this raises their profile with other big productions that they're trying to make these big productions see Netflix as a viable place to take their movie. But let's face it, these producers aren't going to make as much money on this movie being on Netflix as it would if it had a theatrical release. But then again, maybe it would have lost money. Question here is, guys, what do you think about this? Do you think this is a bold, smart move by Netflix? Do you think this is an ill-conceived move by Netflix? Do you think a little bit like me, where it's actually both at the same time, a little bit desperate, but at the same time, probably a smart move? What do you think about it? Jump down in the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With all of our main topics out of the way, there are a bunch of other things going on in the world of movie news that we frankly don't have time to get into in depth, but we want to make sure you're caught up to date on all the stuff going on. So right now, fact checker Jonathan proudly presents to you today's installment of the Movie News Feed. Check it out.
First up, in a recent interview, Jeremy Renner revealed that long before he decided to jump on board with playing Hawkeye, he had a chance to play a character in another comic book movie, Agent Myers in Guillermo del Toro's Hellboy. From Gizmodo, the actor had this to say about the role. "I was just reading the script and thinking I don't get this. I just couldn't connect to it. I said, I can't find a way into this character. I don't know what I'd be doing, so I had to say no." In the film, Agent Myers is played by Rupert Evans. Not working on a movie that doesn't make sense to you seems like a good policy most of the time. Though, famously, Sean Connery turned down Fellowship of the Ring for that very reason, proving it's maybe not a foolproof policy. Next up, Stranger Things 3 is the new Netflix 4-day streaming champion. From Deadline, the service said Monday that the third installment of the nostalgic horror series has been watched by 40.7 million household accounts since its 4th of July launch, and that 18.2 million already have binged the entire series. When Season 2 debuted in October 2017, Nielsen said the first episode averaged 15.8 million US viewers. The measurement service also said all of the 9 new episodes averaged 4 million viewers and 3 million in the demo, saying a significant viewing event occurred. Next up, newcomer Celeste O'Connor from Irreplaceable You and Logan Kim have signed on to join the ensemble cast of Ghostbusters 2020. From Variety, the pair joins Paul Rudd, Carrie Coon, Stranger Things star Finn Wolfhard, and Gifted star McKenna Grace. Jason Reitman, whose father, Ivan Reitman, directed the original Ghostbusters, will helm Ghostbusters 2020. Reitman also co-wrote the screenplay and plans to begin shooting this summer. Sony declined to comment on plot details, but insiders say the story will be an extension of the original Ghostbusters and focus on Kuhn, a single mother, and her family, including Wolfhard, her son. Next up, several potential cast members for the new CBS All-Access adaptation of Stephen King's The Stand were revealed last month, and now an unexpected name has joined their ranks, Marilyn Manson, from Slash Film. It's not clear how big a part Manson will play, but the shock rocker confirmed his acting involvement and revealed he recorded a song for the show as well. Manson is no stranger to acting. He had a role on the outlaw biker show Sons of Anarchy. He also acted on the TV series Salem. You can catch him later this year in The New Pope, the second season of HBO's The Young Pope. Manson joins a cast that likely includes James Marsden, Amber Heard, Whoopi Goldberg, and Greg Kinnear. And finally, American Horror Story fans may be getting a rather unwelcome first for the show in its upcoming 9th season. From Vulture.com, it has been reported Sarah Paulson will not appear in a significant role in American Horror Story 1984, if she appears on the show at all. The actress has appeared in all 8 seasons of the Ryan Murphy series to date, and since Murder House has been featured heavily in or anchored every subsequent season. The new season will premiere on September 18th, and the show has already received a green light for season 10. And that will do it for today's installment of the Movie News Feed.
All right, and now you guys are all caught up to date on all the things going on. Special thanks to fact checker Jonathan for putting that together for us. All right, guys, now with all that down and out of the way, it's time for us to go into our main questions. And Erin Cummings had to step out. Because she's a Hollywood actress, she has appointments she has to go see and go and do. So she had to step out. We want to thank Erin for being here today. She'll be back again on Thursday's show, guys, so keep your eyes open for that. All right, with that down, let's go on to our main topics today. You guys have been firing in your main topics all day today. You can get a main topic in here by sending in a super chat, and we're going to try to get through all of them. Any that we don't get around to, we'll answer in a companion video a little bit later on. All right, let's get things rolling with this. You can see Grizzly in the background there. Let's see. Dim Sum writes, oh, just Mr. Dim Sum just asked, Erin, what is your favorite movie? Sorry, Erin had to step out. She had to take off a little bit earlier today. But you know what? I'll try to remember to ask her that on the next show that she's on, Dim Sum. I'll try to make sure I remember to ask her that. All right, KW Garrett 83 writes, I don't think people have comic movie fatigue. I think it's theater fatigue. Getting any of my friends to go to the theater is tough with streaming competition. I mean, look, I think that's part of the overall picture, probably, because, I mean, we're seeing a trend across all theaters. Again, and, you know, some people were misquoting me singing, like, I think comic movie fatigue is setting in. I said, no, it's just the fact that we've got 3 underperforming comic book movies all within 6 months of each other. I think it's something that the comic book industry or comic book movie industry needs to at least take back and be a little concerned about and take a look at, but nothing beyond that. But Rob, I don't know, you think it just might be theater fatigue? Like, how do you see that?
I mean, it could be. I think that, you know, we have a generation of people that aren't necessarily... There's just so many other entertainment options. And, you know, John, you and I grew up, movie houses were our citadels, our churches, so to speak. And they were holy places that we wanted to get to as many times as we could. I just don't think that's the same thing. But I don't believe in superhero fatigue like we talked about. I think people want to see good movies. And I don't think whatever's in them, whether they're science fiction, whether they're horror, whether they're superheroes, whether they're about cops, whether they're animated, people just want great films. And if they feel they're not getting great films, they don't turn out. They don't go.
All right, next one up comes to us from Donaldo Martinez, who writes, with Erin's fear of spiders, can she handle the movie Arachnophobia? Dude, I'm telling you what, she could. I took her to see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse when it was in theaters. She lost her mind just for a split second when an animated spider popped up on screen. I am telling you, no, she would probably claw my face off. If I try to sit down and watch Arachnophobia with her, claw my face. I've never seen a reaction like that, honestly. It's crazy. Jack Humphreys writes, did you see the trailer for the Judy Garland movie? Yes, with Renee Zellweger. I'll tell you what, I was fascinated by it. I'm down for this. Judy Garland is one of the not talked about enough true legends of Hollywood in the business. Rob, did you have a chance to see this trailer?
I did. That new trailer, both of the trailers, but the new one that just dropped, I was like, that was jaw-dropping. She looks amazing as Judy Garland. I'm really intrigued. I want to see the film. I mean, I've always loved Judy Garland, so why not?
And her speech pattern, the whole bit,
nails it.
Completely fascinated by it. All right, Willow Yang writes, looking forward to hearing your thoughts on The Lion King. I hope it lives up to expectations. Yeah, I'm going to go see it tonight. Going to go see Lion King tonight. I'm so excited. It's the premiere down in Hollywood tonight. Going to go see it tonight, and I'm going to go watch it again tomorrow. I am ludicrously excited about this. I cannot wait for this. You guys know it was like in my top 2 most anticipated movies of the year this year. Tonight, I'm going to see it. Please don't disappoint. I'm very excited about it. And by the way, guys, I am able to share my social media reaction tonight. The review embargo lifts on Thursday morning, so we're going to review it here on the John Campea Show on Thursday morning at 9, because that's exactly when the review embargo lifts. But tonight, I'm going to be able to send out my social media stuff, and I'm probably going to do a little bit of live streaming with the phone when we get down to the red carpet, so keep your eyes open for that. All right. Amir B writes, I just hope it's a great story, comic-based or not. Probably talking about Joker. Hey, listen, right now, with them opening Joker at the Venice Film Festival, giving it an award season opening date, hey, look, if anything else, it at least sounds like Warner Brothers has got a lot of faith in this film, so let's see if that faith is well placed or not. Dim705 writes, my review for Far From Home. A mediocre first half that's equal parts cool moments and problematic moments that ends with a final hour that's a geek wet dream. I in general, I sort of agree. The first half of the movie, like again, for me, Far From Home is my 4th favorite Spider-Man film. I had a very good time at it, but I think you heard a lot of people say that the first act's got some pacing issues, got some pacing problems, sure, but I still thought there was a lot of humor in it that I really enjoyed in the first half. And overall, I really dug. But generally speaking, Dim Sum, that's not an unusual response I'm hearing from people. Overall, really enjoy the movie. Maybe first half's a little bit whatever, but I even thought there were some good laughs in the first half. Rob, I know you love this film. It's like your second favorite Spider-Man movie of all time, right?
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I wanted the first half of the movie to be even longer. You know, those clips that we saw in the trailers, I wanted them to be in the film. I was digging all of that. And I really like where they're taking the Spider-Man character into the MCU where he's supposed to be. And I think that's really interesting. I mean, I'm not comparing and contrasting the Spider-Man character to the comic book incarnations or the previous film incarnations. I'm looking at it, and I was not a Homecoming fan. I thought it was okay. I like this movie a lot more because it focused more on the character of Peter Parker and where is he going and what is he supposed to be doing and what is his place in the world. And I thought that was really interesting by taking him out of his neighborhood and having him face these questions in foreign locales that he was unfamiliar with. The external of the movie was mirroring what was going on inside of him, and I thought that was all pretty genius.
All right, next up, Imad Abdel Atif writes, when you find new topics for the show, do you write down your first thoughts right away, or do you just let it fly when the show starts? I just let it fly when the show starts. Like, what I do try to figure out is, what is something I'll want to talk about, right? So, for instance, I thought an important thing that we're going to have to, for context with the whole Dwayne Johnson's Red Notice movie, I thought an important part of the context was going to be talking about the history of the director. So what I will do in advance is like, okay, I'll make sure I get that ready and I'll get this graphic ready. If I think there's something important just actually in the official news story, I'll want to pull that out and actually just quote it for you guys instead of just saying it off the top. But for the most part, like Rob and I talk about this, even before the show starts, you know, Rob will show up in the morning and then me and you, Rob, we'll talk for a bit and maybe something about one of the pieces of news will come out, but then inevitably we'll always stop each other and go, gotta save it for the show. Yeah. Gotta save it for the show. Because we actually want our first reactions and us hearing each other's reactions to actually happen while we're doing the show live otherwise. So no, for the most part, it's just...
well, you send me the topics and I'll read them, but I don't want to like do research or think about them. I want it to be spontaneous on the show, what we're talking about. So our opinions are sort of uncut, you know, and you get them honest.
I'll do research just so I can know what's going on, so I can know all the facts, but then I won't formulate, okay, I'll start off by saying this. And no, I don't do any of that. I gather the information, And then when it's time for us to talk about it, then I've got the information.
Well, yeah,
there.
usually I read all the industry trade papers and things, so I'm aware of what the topics are.
Yeah.
And then I'll because I like coming in here. Like I read that article about Netflix yesterday that wasn't directly related, but then I can go, oh, I read this article, and it sort of freely flows, and it makes the show more interesting.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so that's how we do it. Nicholas Stanley writes, what are your thoughts on the Goonies, and would you like to see a possible reboot? Asked that exact same question yesterday. Love the reboot. Love the Goonies. And I am totally for a reboot. I mean, am I looking for a reboot? No, but I have absolutely zero problem with them doing a reboot because, again, if it's good, then we have another good movie to celebrate. If it's bad, who cares? I still got the original. So I'm not rushing out to see it, but I'm totally cool if they do it. Rob, what about you?
I hated the Goonies.
You didn't like the movie?
I hated it.
Really?
I wrote an article about the movie for my high school newspaper. I think if I was 8, I would have loved it, but I saw it when I think I was a senior in high school or junior in high school. I mean, the movie was interminable to me. It was like fingers on a chalkboard. Every single choice made. And it was from Richard Donner. And I couldn't believe it. Oh, and Spielberg. No.
Oh, I love that movie. Okay, next up. I didn't know that, Rob. All right, Evelyn writes, that Joker trailer, which is my favorite of the year, makes it look like it's going to be a great movie. That's all I care about, a good movie. And really, that really is the ultimate thing. Yeah. And again, keep in mind, when you hear those admittedly very jarring words, the director saying this isn't going to be connected to any of the comic stories, just keep in mind, like even the ones that say they're connected to a comic story, Days of Future Past, bear very little resemblance to the actual comic story. Civil War actually bears very little similarity to the comic story. So it's really, to me, Rob, it's not that much of a stretch or a leap, is it?
No. I mean, here, look. This film is about the whole mythology, the whole idea behind it. So I think it doesn't have to be exactly from... And what comic book story would you adapt?
Yeah, no.
Which one?
Yeah, exactly. There's so many different
Where'd
versions
you go?
of
Yeah.
it. Yeah. All right, M. Droscher writes, only 50 days to Toy Story 4 in my country. Dude, I still can't believe their country's got to wait that long. They got to do something about these release date things because you got to get them sooner than that. Scooby-Doo writes, do you believe in ghosts? I actually don't believe in ghosts, although I'm intelligent enough to know that there's a lot we don't understand about the universe, and who knows? My starting premise is there's not, but I wouldn't be shocked to find out someday if there was. Razor's Edge Frisbee writes, hope you're having an awesome day. John, I gotta disagree about God of War not needing an R rating. The first 6 games in the series are super gory. Irrelevant. Totally irrelevant. Because they're not talking about the original games. If they do this movie, they're doing it on this most recent game. That's what they'll be basing it on. And I understand I had a bunch of people writing to me yesterday, and I guess this is my own fault because I wasn't being specific. And a bunch of people writing to me, John, how can you say like God of War this or God of War that? Didn't he be R-rated? It's like, well, okay. To be fair, I didn't specifically say this one, but I did kind of mention it's like this particular story, this one, which is the one they would probably do. If you sit down and watch it, it doesn't really, you could put everything I feel. Rob and I disagree on this, but I think you could put everything on screen that Rob and I would want them to put on screen. And I think it's conceivable the MPA would still give it a PG-13. Depending on how far you want to go with it, because I kind of feel, Rob, like when it's hyper violence against ghosts, against robots, against aliens, against supernatural creatures or whatever, I have found historically that the MPAA has been a lot more lenient when it comes to that. So I think you could show, Kratos hacking up some giant mythological monster to pieces and disemboweling and all. And I still think the MPA could conceivably give it a PG-13. But you think that it would still warrant an R? You still think they would still give it an R?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you do it without limbs a flailing and like our viewer said, the first couple of games. I remember I loved the first God of War game. I played on Xbox, I think.
It got a huge splash when it hit.
I loved it. And the bloodletting was half the fun. It's like you got to make a Mortal Kombat movie with some dude ripping out another dude's spine.
All right, next up comes us from Richard Demicoli, who writes, greetings from Australia. Well, greetings from Australia. First time chat. Just want to say that you guys are great and we watch the show daily. Thank you so much for the great content. Oh, thanks so much, Richard. That's awesome of you to say. It's amazing to me how many people watch in Australia. I love love getting messages from the people in Australia who watch, and it's always really sweet when somebody just wants to send in a super chat just to say something nice. So thank you for that. And one of these days, I got to get down to Australia. Have you ever been to Australia, Rob?
Dude, I lived there for a year. Working on Superman Returns.
That's right. I forgot about that.
I lived there. I love Australia. I've been to Tamworth, their country music capital. Australia is one of my favorite places in the world, and Sydney is one of my favorite cities.
I got to get down
and
there
all
someday.
the people from Melbourne are screaming right now. I know.
Cameron Ross writes, have you guys heard about the girl who plays Morgan Stark being bullied online for not having time to sign autographs and take pictures? She's only 7. Yeah, this is actually weeks old news, Cameron. This has been brought up many times on the show by many different people. And all I've said about that is, I don't know what the scope of it is. I don't know if it's just a couple of people wrote something nasty to her, or if it was a bigger problem, like thousands of people wrote something nasty to her. But again, the same thing, like I said before several times, anybody who would write something mean or disparaging to a 7-year-old child needs to have their balls put into a dumpster. I mean, they seriously do. They just need to get and just sacrifice their card. I mean, they're just losers who are pathetic, and there's just no excuse for it. There's no excuse for it at all. Matsiv Jada writes, just saw The Wrestler. What are you doing, Aunt May? Yeah, I mean, look, that was The Wrestler marked the big return to the screen. I mean, probably even more so than Sin City did for Mickey Rourke. I mean, that was the one that put him back on the map. Unfortunately, the infamous stories of just how difficult he is as a person to work with, and how difficult he is on set, and how just nobody wanted to work with him after that. So he had this slight resurgence with The Wrestler, Sin City, but that kind of faded out fairly, which is really too bad, because as far as pure acting talent goes, the dude is loaded to the gills with acting talent, but just the word got out. He was really hard to work with, and nobody wanted to work with him, which is just too bad. But did you see The Wrestler?
I love The Wrestler.
Isn't it good?
It's really good.
Yeah.
And I really like that movie a lot. And I think, we got Mickey Rourke in Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
So, I mean, his resurgence was definitely there, but like you said, difficult man to work with. Apparently.
Burned out quickly. SWGJR87 writes, wise man say forgives us divine, but never pay full price for late pizza. I want to say that was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, I don't know.
I can't remember that.
But maybe is that something that
I know this quote. I mean, I totally hear that quote being spoken in my head, but I cannot place them out. But okay. Richard Democoli writes, hey John, really love Spider-Man Far From Home. However, understand what you mean when you said too much Iron Man influence. Just let him be Spider-Man, dude. This is the thing I have been whining and moaning and bitching and crying about ever since Spider-Man Homecoming came out. I do not like. Look, I love the overall thing. I love Spider-Man in this universe. I love Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I love the movies, all that kind of stuff. But even in the movies we love, there are certain elements we don't like, and that's fine. The element that I've always whined and bitched and moaned and cried and sucked about, Rob, is the fact that I just don't like that they're making him Iron Man Jr. That they seem to think like the only way we can put him over with everybody is we really associate him with one of our most popular characters, Iron Man. Spider-Man's cool enough on his own. And I really feel, because I remember one of the things I said to you, Rob, after I saw Homecoming, but just before you saw it, was with Far From Home, they really doubled down on the Iron Man Jr. thing. Like, they really doubled down on it. And I don't like that aspect of it. I still like the overall thing. But come on, Rob, even you got to admit that you can clearly see that now, right? Like in Homecoming, you can see clearly.
Right, but
see
I don't think that's a bad thing. Like I see it as what they're doing is Spider-Man is uncoupling. He was brought into the MCU, right? He never had his own identity, and what they're doing is they're building his own identity. So I think in the third Spider-Man movie, he's going to be free of his Iron Man influence and truly be the Spider-Man that we all know and love. I mean, and they've had to replace his journey with Uncle Ben with the Tony Stark influence. I like what they've done because it's new and interesting to me. I think it's different than what we expected. And I like to see where it's going. And I think we're going to finally see Spider-Man away from Tony Stark now. They've played that card, and he's going to be on his own, finally.
And yet, he's on Stark's plane, using Stark's tech, doing all that kind of stuff, and Jon Favreau looks at him and is like, Tony's back. I love it. I love the overall thing. I do. Love the movie.
He's just saying like a father would say that.
But anyway, that's just, again, I'll just continue to bitch and moan about it. All right. Joe Leon writes, morning, big article on Disney by Adam Very of BuzzFeed, July 3rd. So many ramifications. Any chances on a chat video to address its many talking points? No. What you'll never see me do is do a video talking about somebody else's article, pro or con. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm not here, like I get so many people send me, John, did you see this YouTube video? You should do a video about this video. I'm like, I don't do that. So no, probably wouldn't. However, you are the second person I've heard about this particular article from, Joe. This morning, somebody else sent me a link to it earlier. So I haven't read it myself. I'm definitely curious to read it, but no, you're not going to see me ever doing a video to talk about somebody else's video or about somebody else's article. That's not what I do. I'm here to talk about the actual news, not somebody else's take on it. But I am fascinated to read it, though. I'm super fascinated to read it. So thanks for sharing that with me, dude. All right. I'm Upset writes, I think Sony will use Mary Jane since she's not in the MCU. Well, technically speaking, they already have. She was in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So they could. I don't see them, though, using Mary Jane in, like, Venom 2. I don't think we're going to see a Mary Jane Walker. I mean, Sony... Watson, sorry. Sony can use any character they want. Marvel only gets to use whichever character Sony lets them use. So I don't see why they wouldn't let them use Mary Jane had they wanted, but they wanted to go in a different direction. They created a different character that also has the initials MJ, and it's worked for me. But I just don't see how you fit in a Mary Jane Watson without... she is Spider-Man's love interest. That's her primary function. Now, a lot of people said you can't do Venom without Spider-Man, and they did. I mean, I don't know, Rob. Do you think there's a possibility that Sony could bring a Mary Jane Watson into the live action without Peter Parker?
No, I don't think they would do that. I think that would be too distracting, and it would just raise too many questions. I don't think it's a good move.
And unnecessary. Probably unnecessary at this point, too. All right. Next up, this one comes to us from JB Bonifacio, who writes, Hopper's toxicity towards Elle and Joyce in the early episodes was jarring. I understand he's an overprotective dad, but the execution felt off. I got to disagree with you, JB. I can see where you're coming from. But I got to disagree. I thought the crusty nature of his personality, that... even when it's towards somebody he really likes, because I'm telling you what, I don't have kids. But Ann and I were watching this, and I'm like, oh my God, that's going to be me. I don't want it to be me. I'm going to hate that that's me. But the way is when Elle and Mikey are in her bedroom, I'm like, shit, that's totally going to be me. I don't have kids, and I know that's going to be me. I actually found it really charming. And I got to tell you, man, it actually worked for me. So I get where you're coming from, I do, but I just got to say it worked for me. Rob, did you find that off-putting?
No, I mean, I used to date a girl whose mother made her keep her bedroom door open when I was in high school. And I was like, look, Hopper's new thing was being a dad. He was being a dad to a burgeoning, teenage girl. And she had her hormones were raging, and they were in the middle of their high school careers, and
who, by the way, has the powers of the gods at the same time.
Right, and he certainly was learning as he went along, and I thought it was charming, like you. I'm like, no, he's a cop. And now he's a dad, a makeshift dad that was thrown into the situation, and he's expected to know what to do. No father, I don't care who you are, wants their daughter making out with some dude in the room next door.
And he's crusty.
He's a crusty
dude. Character, and I like
I like that part. I felt it to be very authentic.
All right. Next one comes us from Brett Brooks, who writes, Spider-Man 3, screw you guys, I'm going home. There you go. It's just... they're going to put the word home in the title. Whatever. Whether it's Spider-Man, Home Alone, Spider-Man Home Run, Spider-Man Home Base, whatever. It's going to be in there.
Home is where the heart is.
Spider-Man Home is where the heart is. Baby Boy 8603 writes, hey gang, movies that play at film festivals. How and when does the audience get to see them? For example, there's a movie, Little Monsters, with Lupita Nyong'o that premiered in January at the Sundance Film Festival. I'm interested, but I can't find it. Any info on a release date for the audience? Well, here's the reality of the situation, baby boy. A lot of films that play at film festivals never get put into theaters.
Right.
I mean, the reality is most movies that get made, follow the chain here. Most scripts that get written never get made into movies. Most movies that get made never actually make it into theaters. And that's even true of a lot of films that play at film festivals. a lot of times these festivals, they bring their movies to these festivals in the hopes that a distributor will see it and go, yes, we want to buy this movie and put it out. Whether it's putting it out on a streaming service or putting it into theaters and blah, blah, blah. And most of them just never get there. So what you got to do is wait for them to give up, get a distributor that'll just feed it into a Netflix or to some kind of streaming service where you can buy it, or onto a, Time Warner VOD or something like that. And, they'll wait and they'll see if they can get a deal for it and whatever. Rob, what do you usually find but these films that play these festivals, eventually you'll be able to find them somewhere,
yeah,
right?
They usually, some obviously never get picked up for any kind of distribution, but yeah, they're usually around somewhere. But I've heard of Little Monsters. I really want to see that. The Lighthouse that the director of The Witch did that we talked about? Yeah. I really want to see that. I can't wait for it. And sometimes it takes a year or two for movies that get picked up at festivals because they keep playing festivals for 6 months or a year. Sometimes we see movies that get picked up and then they come out very quickly, kind of like I think Midsummer came up pretty quickly. But you will eventually get to see it, especially if Lupita Nyong'o's in it. Somebody will put it out.
All right, Sharon Carter writes, who would win in a fatal four-way elimination tag team match? Doctor Strange and Ancient One versus Thor and Odin versus Professor X and Magneto versus Hulk and Abomination. Whichever one has Odin, that's the one that wins. Thor and Odin wins that. That would be a great one to watch, but, Strange and Ancient One would be great. Professor X and Magneto obviously is huge. Hulk and Abomination, my God, but it's Odin with Thor. So, I think that's an easy one, Rob. I think it's Odin and Thor. What about you?
I think you're probably right, although I would say, anybody who has red blood, Magneto could kill you right away just by manipulating the iron in your blood, and you're a dead person.
Or Professor X could just turn you into, make you go comatose.
Yeah.
So it all depends. All depends on how you want to look at it.
It's a good fight, though.
Brett Brooks writes, who would you want to see as a villain in Spider-Man 3? I don't care. I don't care, just because it doesn't matter. I've said this before. They've gotten one of the greatest comic book characters of all time, Doctor Doom. Tried him 3 times. Every time it sucked. So it doesn't matter what character you put in. All it matters is, do you write a great villain? So really, I don't care which one they mention. I just hope they write whoever it is well. But Rob, do you have a particular hope or preference?
Well, I love Kraven the Hunter, but I just don't know. As much as I like Kraven the Hunter, can they make a movie around him?
Well, I think they're not going to put him in Spider-Man 3. They're Sony's talking about doing a standalone, but I think they can.
I just love Kraven the Hunter. So, I love somebody coming and gunning for Spider-Man. But I don't know.
All right, next up comes to us from I'm Upset, who writes, thoughts on Magic Mike, chances for a third one, 0. I thought actually the first Magic Mike is actually kind of charming and fun. It's a fun little movie. I wasn't so big on Magic Mike 2. I don't think there's any chance for Magic Mike 3 when you look at the financial returns for the second one. So pretty much 0. Very, very low for chances for Magic Mike 3. Babyboy8603 writes, oh, we already had that, sorry. Luis Blanco writes, I don't care if Joker originated as a male stripper. As long as it makes for a good movie, have a great day. And I think that's exactly it. They want to, look, they initially said, Joaquin Phoenix said this, Todd Phillips has said this, they don't want to look at Joker. They want to see what turns somebody into the Joker.
Right.
And that's the way they're going, and you got that in the trailer. It's what got one of the best directors one of the best actors on the planet right now, Joaquin Phoenix, to go, yeah, this is a movie I want to do. It looks fascinating, and I'm with you. I don't care what they do as long as they make it good. That's the bottom line. All right, Toonie2 writes, new Dora trailer looks stupid. It's a very bad movie, I think, and I want to see it. I'm excited. Yeah. Well, I could have put this in off the top this morning, Rob, but I chose not to. Another Dora the Explorer trailer dropped. I thought, look, I get why they made this movie. I do. Unlike, say, Look Who's Talking Reboot, I don't get that. I get why they made a Dora one. I thought the first trailer was abysmal. Like some from the deepest, blackest heart, this spewed forth from. It looks horrible. I saw the new trailer, equally as bad. Equally as bad. There's one moment. Did you see it, Rob?
I didn't see the new trailer.
There's one moment. That's actually a little cute. And I can't remember. It's right out of the cartoon where they show a younger Dora eating at the family dinner table. And, they say, how is it, Dora? And she goes, it's delicioso, or something like that. And then she looks in the camera and is like, can you say delicioso? And then it cuts wide shot to everybody else, like the mom and dad, like, who is she talking to? And like Michael Pena, it's a phase, she'll grow out of it. I thought that was cute. That was a cute little homage to the original cartoon. I get it, but everything else was stupid. They even put in an animated swiper, the fox that steals, that he had a little burglar mask on and everything. It just looks so bad.
Shouldn't they have made this movie 10 years ago?
Yes.
It's like I think
So
Dora
late.
and Sonic the Hedgehog should play on a double bill for all eternity as movies that were just made out of time.
Way too late. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to the next one here. Jay Meister 25 writes, comic book movies share little resemblance to their comic book counterparts. So why is what's happening with the Joker movie a big deal to anyone? Completely agree. The key is, do you write a compelling character? Do they capture the essence of Joker? Because I'm telling you, I look at these trailers and I see them capturing the madness and the chaos of what the Joker is in a very different way from the way Heath captured it, or Jared captured it, or Jack captured it, or Caesar captured it, or whatever. And I think it's going to be, great. And Warner seems to be 100% on board with this thing. You don't open this thing at Venice if you don't have belief in it, because you know the audiences in Venice will rip this thing to shreds. They're almost as bad and harsh as Cannes.
Yeah.
Like, as you know, the audience at Cannes are very, very critical. At Venice, we've seen that happen as well. And they don't want bad word coming out. They got to believe in it. So I believe we're in store for something pretty good. All right. Andres Martinez writes, my cousin hasn't seen a Transformers movie. Should they watch Transformers 1 or Bumblebee? Those are the two good ones. I would say watch the first Transformers and then Bumblebee, but there's honestly no wrong answer. They constructed Bumblebee in such a way that you could have never seen another Transformers movie, watch it, and been totally pleased. Rob, if you're giving your advice on this, should they watch Transformers 1, or can they just go right in and watch Bumblebee?
I think you can just go in and watch Bumblebee. I mean, it really, this is a call for your audience. Are you showing it to a more female-centric audience, like your sister and maybe your aunts, along with your uncles?
If that's the case, start with Bumblebee. If not, start with Transformers 1. I mean, they're both kind of the story of teenagers in their cars.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting as a double feature. But I think there is a crassness to the first Transformers. Like, there's a sweetness to Bumblebee. When they show Megan Fox leaning over car engines, it's leering, and you really need to know your audience on this one.
Yeah. Bumblebee had a lot of heart.
Yes.
Had so much heart. And that opening Cybertron scene
is so
one of the
cool.
best scenes ever in any Transformers movie.
It's really cool.
But really, the answer is there's no wrong answer there. I think you're good either way, but I think Rob raises the best point. Know your audience. So know them and then proceed accordingly. But I think you're safe with either one. Let's see. Andres Martinez writes, I just found out that Zazu's animated voice was done by Mr. Bean, Rowan Atkinson. Yes, it was. Win for Disney. Yeah, it is great. He was wonderful in that. And I think, honestly, the casting of John Oliver to do Zazu might have been, and I mean, I'm not being facetious here, it may be, other than bringing back James Earl Jones as Mufasa, I think John Oliver as Zazu is the best casting in this movie. I like Seth Rogen as Pumbaa. I like Donald Glover as the older Simba. I like the Beyonce thing because of the vocal power she can bring to it. I like Chiwetel Ejiofor as Scar. I like all of them, but I don't know that they did a better bang-on casting than John Oliver as Zazu. Yes? No?
Oh, you asking me?
Yeah.
I think it's amazing. I'm sitting here nodding, going, yes, indeed. I mean, I think that and also, I don't know if you saw those pictures at Disney release of the actors with their counterparts.
Yeah, I finally did, yeah.
I loved those. I thought they were so great. I put the Chiwetel Ejiofor one with Scar as it's on my Facebook page as my banner. And I mean, I think nothing they've done in this movie has been a misstep at all. And I'm jealous as hell you get to see it tonight.
I'm stoked, man. I'm so stoked. I'm just like, ah! Okay.
Dude,
Tracy,
it's so good.
Tracy E. writes, I heard a rumor that Storm is going to be in the next Black Panther. Don't believe it. Have you heard this? Would this be a way to introduce mutants into the MCU? No, that's without any hesitation, Tracy, I can tell you this. That's complete BS. That is absolute complete BS. Do not believe for a second. Kevin Feige even just said himself, he's not even clear what's going to be in the script that... why am I freezing on
Ryan Coogler.
Yeah, Coogler. Why am I freezing on Ryan Coogler's name? Ryan Coogler has just started even to write out his treatment for it. So do not believe us for a second any of those rumors. Don't believe those for a second. And Kevin Feige has said we are years away from having X-Men, all that kind of stuff introduced. And the way you introduce it is not by having a character like Storm pop up as a secondary character in somebody else's movie. Not to mention, they're not going to do the romance of Storm and Black Panther. They've got Black Panther's soulmate now, and it's Lupita Nyong'o. And that's the way they're going to do it. And so, no, don't believe that. Don't even believe for a second. That's an absolute zero on that. Absolute zero. Matthias Peterson writes, side note from yesterday's companion video, I actually have a friend who was kind of let down by Thor 1. Oh, I know a lot of people who didn't like the first Thor. That's why I think it's like the second most underrated comic book movie of all time, but your friend's not alone. He didn't know about the Marvel version and expected a movie based on the OG legend of the Nordic gods from our Viking ancestors from Denmark. Okay, that's an interesting... Here's why what Matthias just brought up is interesting, Rob. So the question came up yesterday about, hey, can so-and-so do a Thor, introduce Thor into it because of God of War? You know, in the most recent game, Thor is teased, right? And can they put a Thor in a God of War movie? And I said, absolutely. Because Disney does not own the character of Thor. Thor is a public domain character based out of mythology. The only thing is, you can make right now, any of you, can make a Thor movie if you want. Here's the catch. You can use anything from the actual mythology of Thor can be a part of your movie. Anything you make up can be a part of your movie. But nothing that has been introduced about Thor in the Marvel movies, that stuff you can't use. Because those elements specifically belong to Disney. But anything from the original mythology and anything you make up, you can do. Which we've seen different people do. There's actually other Thor movies out there, right? So the notion that somebody who's not familiar with Marvel might approach a Thor movie and thinking they're going to get a Norse god mythology movie, that's as weird as it is for us now in a world that's dominated by the MCU. Yeah, that sounds weird, but at the time, it's really not all that odd. I can see that happening, can't you, Rob?
Yeah, absolutely see that happening. I mean, I don't know if you'd want to, though. You know, I mean, if you're going to go make a Norse god movie, that could be cool, but that's a period piece. Unless you bring the Norse gods into the present day, but then it becomes, a comedy? Unless you do like the Marvel what if angle. One of my favorite Marvel what ifs was what if Conan the Barbarian was in the 20th century? What if they brought Norse gods into the 21st century? That could be a lot of fun. But again, you're going to be comparing and contrasting these movies to Thor. The Marvel Thor. I think it'd be hard.
One of my favorite Thor incarnations of all time. Remember the old Hulk TV show Hulk? They did a TV movie Hulk,
that Thor,
where they introduced Thor, and he actually transformed from the kid into Thor.
Yeah.
And him and Hulk would have that fight. Him and Lou Ferrigno would have that fight.
Yep.
I love that incarnation of Thor. I don't know why. I thought it was hilarious. All right, next one up. Uganda Be Kidding Me writes. I love that name. Uganda Be Kidding Me writes. First time super chat. Love the show. Thank you so much, Uganda. Any plans for a John Campea movie night meetup when you travel back home to the Hammer? Starlight always has room. I am starting to think, because I'm coming back to Hamilton twice this year. I'm going to be coming back mid-August, but that's a short visit. So I think I'm going to use any time I have there to be with my family. But I might squeeze in a time for a meet and greet when I'm in Canada. The other time is I come back around Christmas time, when I usually come back for more than a week. So one of the two, I will set something up. I maybe set something up and have it in Hamilton. I might set up to have it in Toronto. Maybe somewhere in between, like at a Burlington or an Oakville that's right in the middle of Hamilton and Toronto. So I'll figure something out. We will do something. But thanks for that, Uganda. I appreciate you sending that in, man. All right. Next up, Kill the Cat Official writes, hey, John, any word on Scorsese's The Irishman? I've been waiting on this film since 2016. IMDb says it's coming out this year, but still no release date. That's the thing about Netflix. Netflix keeps the release date very close to the vest, and then they'll just tell you when it's coming out, like sometimes 2 weeks before it actually comes out, or like a month or two before it comes out. For a normal film that was coming out theatrically, what I would say is this, Rob. We are in that stage that you don't want there to be any news. Because the only news that could possibly come out about The Irishman right now would be bad news. Because the film's shot, It's done. It's just waiting for release. So any news that comes out right now would be nothing but bad. So in typical Netflix fashion, and I'll still tell you what, Rob, I'm still not excited about this movie. I still have reservations about it. The fact that, it got passed on by so many others. Finally, Netflix picked it up. Maybe that's because of box office concerns. Maybe that doesn't speak to the quality. I don't know. But I'm not yet excited about it. Where are you at with this thing?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll watch anything. He's a filmmaker. I'll just watch what he makes no matter what. But this film, even what it's about, you think Martin Scorsese and gangsters is going to be the thing that everybody wants to see. But this movie is... I don't know what the hook is yet. I need to see. There's been no trailer. I'd love to see something about it to pique my interest, but I'm not there yet.
I think you just raised a great point. I think maybe once a trailer drops, then that'll give us a lot more of a context. Maybe then we get excited. Hey, listen, guys, we've gone over an hour and a half here, but Rob is a busy guy, so he's got things he's got to get to. Rob, thanks so much for being here, dude. We'll have you, of course. You'll be back again tomorrow. But listen, where in the meantime can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM. Find me on Instagram at RMBurnett, or on my YouTube channel, The Burnett Work.
All right, dude. Awesome job as always, and we will see you tomorrow, sir. Have a good one, and I'll tell you all about Lion King at the time. All right, guys. With that down, let's keep on going and keep the show rolling. We still got a bunch of questions to get to here, so we're going to start off things here with David Lillian, who writes, "It makes sense to have more action in Mulan and less music. The core of these remakes is that they are modern interpretations of these stories." He goes on and writes, "And certain aspects of different stories need to be adjusted to meet the expectations of modern audiences." The funny thing, though, here, Dave, is this, though. It feels like instead of making it modern, it feels like, because remember, this isn't based on the animated movie Mulan. This is based on the original legend of Mulan. And it feels like instead of making it more modern, it kind of feels almost a little bit of the opposite. It feels like they're trying to go back further than the animated film and go back to the core stuff of what the original legend of Mulan is and base it on that. And I'm very excited about that. I'm very excited about it. Again, I watched this trailer. It was not what I thought it was going to be. I don't know what I was expecting from the first Mulan trailer, but it definitely had a very much of, I keep saying it, a 90s Spielbergian kind of feel. It just felt epic and grand in scope, and I'm excited about it. And I think I prefer what we're seeing than the musical numbers. And for some of the Disney films, the musical numbers included is the way they should go. I feel like Mulan is one that you can go the other direction. And we'll see. We'll see, but I certainly love the first trailer. It was just a first trailer. We'll get a better picture and a better idea as more trailers come out down the line. But for right now, where it's at the moment, I think it's looking really great. So I'm excited about it, dude. All right, next up, Skyhook just sends in a super chat. Thank you, Skyhook. In Poor Taste Humor also just sends in a super chat. Thank you, In Poor Taste Humor. Let's see. Skyhook then writes, "Does the public know that Thanos did the snap?" I believe so, yes. Because remember, in Endgame, even at that support group, at the beginning of Endgame, Captain America's sitting there like, if we don't go on living our lives, then Thanos should have killed us all. So I do think it's the word. It was reported like, this is what happened to the world. There was this Thanos dude. This is what happened. Blah blah. So I do believe the public knows that Thanos is the one who did the snap. David Linian writes, "And I like how we're getting a darker interpretation." Again, going back to the original legend of Mulan, who knows if it's darker than that? I mean, it's definitely darker than the animated film, although the animated film did have some dark stuff in it. It did have some dark moments in it, so keep that in mind as well. But yeah, I really do like the direction they're going for now. For now. After one trailer, I like the direction they're going for now. Let's see what happens when we start to get a bigger picture of the movie. Beto Robles writes, "We had Legos and emoji. Where's the Funko Pop movie?" Dude, make no mistake about it. There is a Funko Pop movie in development. There is. I mean, that's true. That's a fact. Whether or not it ever gets greenlit, whether or not they get to a point where they have a script that they really feel they could make it work. Because remember, Funkos are a big profitable IP. What Funko does not want to have happen is to have a crappy movie like the Emoji Movie come out that hurts their brand. So they're not going to be okay, and they're not going to greenlight and say it's okay to actually do a movie unless they think it's a movie that will help build their brand as opposed to tear their brand down. Something like Legos, go for it. Something like Emoji, that could kill their brand. So they're going to be very, very protective of that. Let's see how that evolves. But they are trying to get one put together. Razor's Edge Frisbee writes, Midsommar was great. Florence Pugh was incredible and might be better than Lupita from Us. That's hard to believe. I really related to her anxiety attacks. So convincing. Okay, now, I can't say that that's not true because I haven't seen it yet myself. I was told all about the movie, so I know every twist and turn about the movie, but I haven't seen it yet myself. So I can't say that. All I can say is better than Lupita in Us sounds like a stretch. But again, I can't say that definitively because I haven't seen the movie yet myself. So I can't say that for sure, but that's a pretty high bar there, Razor. That's some pretty big words. Them's fighting words right there, but it'll be interesting to see. I got to check this out probably this week after I see Lion King a couple of times. All right. Darian Owens writes, been following since the AMC days in 2014 when I got my first job at 16 working at AMC. Thanks a lot, man. This is going back to the days. Love seeing the growth. Congrats on all your success. Keep it up. Oh, thank you so much, Darian. You know, I love hearing from people. Remember, I just got a couple of emails yesterday. Swear to God. I just got a couple of emails yesterday from people working in AMC theaters, writing to me saying, hey, been watching since you were at AMC too, and now I'm working at this AMC theater, or I'm working at that AMC theater, and that's always great to hear. You know, it is funny. I joke about it a lot, but it's also deadly serious. My opinion is the HR department at AMC theaters were completely shit out of Satan's asshole. They're a bunch of incompetent boobs over there, totally morally bankrupt, just evil, vile group of people. I hate the HR department at AMC. I wish Thanos would snap them away. That said, that's just my personal experience with a bunch of incompetent morons over there. But despite the fact that is true for my own opinion, I gotta say I still have a great deal of affection for the company as a whole. You know, I really do. I see them launch this A-list. I think it's the best thing they've ever done. And, you know, it was a big deal for me. You know, I'm an effing nobody. I am an effing nobody. And I still remain to this day an effing nobody. I'm very cognizant of that. I'm a nobody who gets to talk about movies all day. And I love it and I cherish it. But I still recognize and I'm very aware that I am an effing nobody. And I'm totally comfortable with that. But for an effing nobody like me, who then had a chance and was asked by this big entertainment company, in the entertainment world at any rate, AMC Theaters, asked to come and start this thing that we started and built and grew. It was a really big pivotal part for me. And while I left, I still hold that very near and dear to my heart. And every once in a while, I still exchange just quick little messages with some of the senior leadership there. I have a very fond place in my heart for AMC Theaters, always will. My theater of choice is the AMC Burbank 16 or the AMC 6 or the AMC 8. They're all three big AMCs, right 10-minute walk up the street from where I live. And I still have and so I love hearing from people. And it happens more often than I would think, Darian, that I love hearing from people who's like, I work at AMC Theaters, and I just like hearing that. I still feel like I'm a part of the family. I'm not at all in any way, shape, or form, but when I hear somebody tell me they work at AMC, I feel like you're a little bit of the family. In Dominic Trotter voice, family. I feel like you're a little bit of family. So there's that. Anyway, thanks for that, Darian. Appreciate that, man. All right. Santez Henderson writes, the end of Stranger Things 3 killed me. Oh, I agree. It was a great ending. I don't want to give it away. I don't want to spoil anything. But I got to tell you, man, I really do feel like this was my favorite season. I just thought it was great. It was cheesy and a little bit of a stretch in some places, but that's part of the charm of this show. And I agree. The ending just killed me. Michael Pacheco writes, hey, everyone, I truly love The Wolf of Wall Street. Great movie. Anyway, what is everyone's thoughts on the movie? Love it. I thought it was great. A little long. It was a bit long. It probably could have been sliced down a little bit. I can tell you, Rob and I have talked about Wolf of Wall Street several times. He loves that movie. I don't know Erin's thoughts on it. I've never asked Erin her thought on that movie. But yeah, for me, love that movie. I think it's great. Let's see here. Kev P writes, over under 50%, a studio reboots the John Campea Show. That'll be interesting to see how they could do that without me, but I'll take the under. I'll be bold, Kev, here, and I'll take the under 50% on that. Beto Robles writes, Joker post-credit, movie is Batman having nightmares. No, I can pretty much guarantee you there will be no Batman in this movie. other than a child Bruce Wayne. We're going to see a child Bruce Wayne, but there will be no Batman in this movie. But wouldn't that be something? If they dropped a post-credit of it's like Batman something or other, including waking up from a nightmare. The James Eversole Jr. Movie Podcast writes, the new original twist on Joker, people riot because nothing to do with the comic arc. Hello, Nolan Dark Knight did same thing. It was phenomenal. True. A lot of people forget this stuff, James. A lot of people forget this stuff. You know, everybody forgets how much everyone hated Hugh Jackman's casting as Wolverine. Not because of anything about his acting talent, but because he's a Broadway song and dance man. He's too tall. He's too much of a pretty boy. He's all these, none of it had anything to do with his acting talent. It was just all about that. Everybody forgets the backlash there was to Heath Ledger's casting. Everybody forgets the initial resistance when the first story notes started to come out, synopsises about the Batman Begins was coming out. There was a lot of skepticism. Everybody pretends that didn't exist. It did. And I think when we focus on whether it's a casting, is this person talented, there seems to be a more even keel response. When it's, does this story, will this work as a movie, regardless of how closely it holds on to original source material, that's the part that's important. And we forget about that. And I think you raise a great point, man, and I think you're right on the money there. Colby Harris writes, saw Spider-Man. There was a guy sitting next to us that wouldn't stop talking. Every time something happened on the movie, he started again. Turns out he had a mental problem, so we just let it go. Okay, yeah, look, you know what you just remind me of, Colby? I remember, it had to be about a month or two ago. Where, because this reminds me of the situation. Me and Ann were driving around in LA, and we came to this intersection. Red light, okay? Going this way, it was green with a walk symbol. And this dude started crossing the street. Very slowly. So slow that the walk symbol turned to the flashing red hand, that then turned that, and then they got a red, and my thing had turned green, and I still couldn't proceed because this guy was still crossing the street. And like the inherent assholes all of us human beings are, my first asshole thought was, God, come on. Get out this, because I'm sitting there. I got to go. And then I caught myself for a second. And I realized this guy had some kind of a physical impairment that was making, and he was older. He wasn't like a senior citizen, but he was older, and he clearly had a bit of an impairment. He had a cane going on. And I remember thinking to myself, you asshole. Who do you think has the bigger inconvenience right now? Me? That I had to sit here for 10 extra seconds? Oh, boo-hoo. Or this guy who once he crosses the street, he still has this impairment. And it's still, who do you think out of him or me is more inconvenienced right now? And I felt like a total ass. Rightfully so, because I was acting like an ass. And I realized, would I rather be me right now that I've been inconvenienced for 10 seconds? Or would I rather be that guy who is going to have a hard time just getting to wherever it is he's going? And I felt like such an ass. And that situation sounds like me, because I would have been sitting at a theater, Colby, and I would have been like this, blah, 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 blah. And then I realized it's somebody who has like some sort of mental health condition or whatever. It's like, oh, who was just more inconvenienced? Me because my movie was disrupted a little bit, or this dude has got to live his life with a mental thing. And then I just feel like a total ass. So I get it, Colby. I get it. That's our first, because we're inherently just big jerks, and we have these bad first reactions. Then you realize, hey, it's somebody who's dealing with something a lot worse than what I got to deal with. And it is what it is. But I know I feel like a complete jerk whenever that happens, because I often have the complete jerk reaction at first. But, it is what it is. Nathan Lip writes, this may be a silly question, but where does the phrase bring on the filthy, I get asked this all the time, Nathan, where does the phrase bring on the filthy originally come from? Thanks, John, for all that you do. Take care. Okay. All because I just very, very quickly, years and years and years ago, I was talking about the upcoming 50 Shades of Grey movie. There was a discussion about whether it should be NC-17 or rated R. I said, you gotta be careful about how much filthy you put into it. And I said, but don't get me wrong, I love the filthy. Bring on the filthy. And then all of a sudden after that day, everybody started tagging their messages to me with blah, 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 and bring on the filthy. And it just stuck ever since. And it's been, 4 or 5 years? Maybe longer? But anyway, dude, that's where it comes from. All right, Michael Pacheco writes, could Good Boys bring back the magic from my favorite comedy, Superbad? Thanks. I think it can, and I'll be honest with you. I like Superbad. I like it. I think it's a good, fun movie. I don't think it's as good as many other people do. Obviously, much as yourself, Michael. Like, I thought Booksmart, which was just in theaters, which is still to me the best movie of the year, was a much better version of Superbad. But don't get me wrong, I like Superbad very much. I think it's very funny. I think it's wonderful. But it's hard to say because all we've seen from Good Boys is the trailers. Trailers can be deceiving. Maybe it's great, maybe it's bad. But I'll tell you what, man, I love what I've seen in these trailers. I laugh myself sick every time I see these trailers. Now, are all the funny moments in the trailers and there's nothing else left for the movie and it's not all that? Who knows? But if we're just going based on potential from the trailers, yes, I think the potential is there that Good Boys can exceed Superbad. But it's hard to say that with any certainty when all we're doing is basing it on trailers. But we'll see. I like what I'm seeing so far, though. All right. S. Beam writes, Jared Leto Joker sucked. I disagree. I thought he was great and misunderstood. But I feel that wasn't his fault, though he was creeping out some of his co-stars, with this whole method acting thing. Ledger's Joker was set the bar for future Jokers. It's good this one is going to be its own. Hey, listen, man, 100% agreement that the Heath Ledger Joker is the best incarnation of Joker. A lot of people think Jack's Joker was the best. Some people think you're never going to touch Cesar Romero's Joker, whatever. But I like Jared Leto's Joker. And what I really like is that every time you do a Joker, you're trying to make him completely unique from the other Jokers while still maintaining the spirit, the core chaos of what the Joker is. And I think they did a good job with that. I know that's the unpopular thing to say, but I'm never one for being afraid to say the unpopular thing if it's what I actually believe. I appreciated what they did with Jared Leto's Joker. Is he as good as Jack's Joker? No. Is it as good as Heath Ledger's Joker? No. But I appreciate it. I thought they found a really cool way to get the chaos of the Joker while making it totally different from Heath or Jack. So I still liked it. And it looks like, again, to your point, S-Beam, it looks like Jared Leto's or Joaquin Phoenix's Joker is going to follow in that tradition. A completely different incarnation than anything we've seen before, while maintaining the madness and the chaos of what the Joker is, but expressed in a different way and manifesting a little bit differently than it did for Jared or Heath or Jack or Caesar or Mark Hamill, for that matter, if you want to go animated. So yeah, I think you're on the money about that. And it's going to be really cool to see what the differences are between this Joker and the other ones. That's one of the things I always look forward to. And like I said, me personally, I thought Jared Leto's Joker was underrated. I really do. The movie had massive problems, but I honestly thought his Joker was underrated. I dug him. Anyway, Christian Borges writes, Far From Home should just be called Iron Man Jr. Even dead, it's all about Tony. I enjoyed the movie, but Tony's centrality to this Peter's life is getting old. I love Tony to bits, but Spidey should be his own character. Preaching to the choir. I agree. They've made him so intrinsically inseparable from Tony Stark that Tony Stark, even though he's not in the movie, is almost as present in the movie as any other character in the film. And that doesn't sit well with me. Again, it didn't bother me enough to take away from my overall enjoyment of the film. I completely still do. I love this Spider-Man. I love the movie, all that kind of stuff. But, that has been my constant whining cry about this, has been I don't like they've just made him Iron Man Jr. And everything's about Tony. And now they even seem to be defining his identity by him now stepping into Tony's shoes and becoming the new Tony Stark. And that little part at the end when he's operating all of Tony's gear on the plane and John Favreau's looking, yep, there's the new Tony. It's like, come on, guys. Spider-Man is cool enough that he doesn't need to be completely identified with one other character. But anyway, I'm constantly whining and crying about that. That's my thing. But just to emphasize again, that doesn't take away from the fact that I still really enjoy the character movie. It's just something I wish they'd change. I just wish they would change that. But they really do double down on it in Far From Home. Let's see here. Who was that? That was Christian. All right. Now, S. Beam writes, good question. Will Netflix begin in the future putting their movies in theaters to stay alive in the streaming game? No. I think that's the complete opposite of anything, if anything else. They want their movies. Look, they'll put their movies on 1 or 2 screens so they can be Oscar eligible. But that's it. They want you to have the only place you can see their stuff is to be a Netflix subscriber. That's where they want to do it. So that's the way they're going to approach it. Their whole point is to get people signed up and subscribed and stay subscribed. And the way you do that is by offering exclusive content. And that's the game. So you're not going to get more people signing up if you're just putting those movies out in theaters. Amazon is taking that approach, and it seems to be working for them. Amazon Prime is putting their original films in theaters first and then putting them on Amazon Prime. I like that approach, but it doesn't seem to be what Netflix's approach is, so I don't think they're going to do it, unfortunately. S. Beam writes, blasphemy, Rob, God of War is a PS exclusive. I don't remember what he said about that, but it is. I'll be honest with you, S. Beam, I can't remember. Was it a PS exclusive right from the beginning? I can't remember if God of War was a PS exclusive right from the beginning. I cannot remember. That's you're probably right, though. Brandon Plummer writes, I feel like Netflix needs more deals that work merchandising into their contracts. Stranger Things sells shirts. Hopefully Sandman can do the same. Maybe. Look, though, if merchandising is your hope of surviving, then you need to change your business plan. Merchandising should be gravy. Merchandising should be stuff that gets you that little bit extra. But if that's what you're relying on, then you're doing it wrong, right? Then they need to change their business plan. So that's clearly not their overall plan. And not everything has good merchandising. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think Sandman has a lot of merchandising potential. You're not going to go out and get your kids Sandman stuff. And let's be honest, a lot of merchandising stuff, that's their target audience is kids. Edgar Navarro writes, I just realized that the head guard from Aladdin and Dimitri from Spider-Man are playing. I didn't even realize that. And now that you mention it, you're totally right. You're totally right. That's the same guy. I didn't even realize that. I have to look that up to double check your facts there, Edgar. But that did look exactly like. Yes, because me and Ann went to go see Aladdin for a second time, and when I keep forgetting the lead guard's name, but when the main guard comes up, I'm like, why does he look so familiar? Because he's Dimitri from. I didn't even realize that. See, I love doing this show because I learn just as much from you guys and I learn from anything else. Thank you. That's great. Now, again, I'm not 100% that's true, but it sounds like it's true. He looks just like him. I got to look it up now, though, because that's awesome. That's my fun moment of the day. All right. Dirk Diggler sends in a big super chat. Thank you, Dirk. Appreciate that, man. He writes in, listening to you expound on comic book fatigue, I thought, for example, how the industry would become different if only Marvel survived and the other franchises like DC went bankrupt. How would you feel if that happened? I think that'd be very unfortunate. Let's put it this way. The worst thing, me and my buddies were talking about this the other day, the worst thing to ever happen to the WWE was WCW going out of business. That was the worst thing that ever happened to them. The Monday Night Wars between WCW and WWE was the thing that propelled wrestling to the biggest numbers that they had ever had, and really pushed at the time to the biggest numbers they had ever had, historical highs, right? Once there was no competition, once there was never a real alternative, like there's always been things like TNA and all that kind of stuff, but it was never real competition. With the lack of any real competition or any legitimate alternative, the brand suffered. That's why a lot of wrestling fans are so excited about this AEW thing, this new wrestling federation coming out that's got a lot of heat right now. Not just because, it's got some good wrestling stuff, but it's hopefully a viable alternative to just a monopoly that doesn't foster innovation. Monopolies never foster innovation. I've heard Kevin Feige speak before, we all have, about how, he cheers for DC films to do well, because, when DC does well, that's good for the genre. And if it's good for the genre, it's good for Marvel too. And it pushes them and all that kind of stuff. And that's why I didn't like the fact that Disney bought Fox. I wanted Fox to be its own thing. They were putting out some bad comic book movies, but they put out some amazing comic book films. Some of the absolute best comic book films of all time. Whether it's Logan, Deadpool, Days of Future Past, whatever, they were putting out some of the greatest comic book films of all time. And now there's one less competitor. And now the only thing that really still exists, Sony is still there, and they put out Venom, which was awesome. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was the best comic book movie last year. That includes Infinity War. I think Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was a better movie than Infinity War. I love Infinity War, but I thought Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was better. I think it would be bad. I think it would be bad for Marvel. I think it would be bad for the genre. I think it would be bad for fans. Because we've just seen too many other examples when there's 2 or 3 big players, and then all of a sudden there's only one big player, and everything lowers after that. And I just think it would be bad for everybody. I hope that never happens, man. I hope that never happens. All right, David Limian writes, Dimitri a Skrull. I don't think so. It's possible, but I don't think so, and I can't go into why, because I would be giving away spoilers. Dirk Diggler writes, for example, what if we never get a Superman or Batman movie, TV or comic show anymore, and they become a memory? What would be your thought of it? Well, that would be terrible. That would be awful. Which I already went into for many reasons before. Not to mention, they're the greatest comic book characters of all time. Superman and Batman are look, Marvel may be dominating the game, and they may be making the better movies overall. Yes. But Superman and Batman are the greatest comic book characters of all time, in my opinion. That's just my opinion, but it is my opinion. So, again, I just think it would be bad for everybody, including Marvel. I think it would be bad for Marvel if that were to happen. So, anyway, that's my thoughts on that. Michael Pacheco writes, do you think Good Boys can separate... Oh, wait a second. Michael, let me just make sure, but I think you asked that exact same question already. You already asked, could Good Boys bring back the magic from my favorite movie, Superbad? And then, do you think Good Boys can capture the magic of my favorite comedy, Superbad? Thanks. Also, can you do an Endgame commentary video? Yeah, I think we will. I already answered the first part of your question, Michael, but yes, I do think we will do an Endgame commentary. I think it'll be me and Rob and one other person that I haven't decided on yet, but I think we will do an Endgame commentary. We're probably too late to do it, but we'll probably end up doing it just for fun. Miles Meacham writes, what is your least favorite MCU film and why? I've talked about this before, Iron Man 2. Iron Man 2 is just a bad film. It's just a bad film. We've talked about Iron Man 2 many times before, but yeah, easily it's Iron Man 2. That is my least favorite one. Warren Lucas writes, over under 75%. Disney has $6 billion films this year. I'll take under on that. Look, we've got Captain Marvel is already won. Endgame is already won. I don't think Aladdin's going to get there. It's already over 900 million, but I don't think there's enough gas in the tank to get it to $1 billion. Spider-Man Far From Home is going to be one. Star Wars is going to be one. Lion King is going to be one. Now, can Toy Story 4 get over that mark? And then can Frozen 2 get over that mark? I think Frozen 2 can, but 75% is a really big number. So while I do think it can, they can have 6 films that join the $1 billion club this year, I think that's very possible. I think 75% is too high of a number, so I'll take the under, even though I think it can happen, and maybe even will happen. I think 75 is too high, so I'll take the under on that. L Cartoon writes, John, my friend hasn't seen Toy Story 4 because she hasn't felt like crying. Pixar is emotionally taxing your thoughts. It's true, man. That's the thing, especially the last couple of ones. The last couple of ones can really hit you in the feels. And I get it. If you're somebody who's like, I don't feel like getting emotional in a movie right now, and that turns you off from seeing a Toy Story film, that's legitimate. It's like saying, look, I don't feel like going to see The 40-Year-Old Virgin because right now I'm not in the mood to laugh. I don't feel like laughing right now. Well, then don't go see 40-Year-Old Virgin. Makes sense. I mean, hopefully at some point she'll feel good that I can be emotional in a movie right now, and then you go see it because it's wonderful and awesome. But yeah, it makes sense. If you're not in the mood to be scared right now, don't go see your horror. If you're not in the mood right now, you just want to relax, you want to chill, you don't feel like being tense and on the edge of your seat, well, then don't go watch Crawl right now. Watch it another time when you are in the mood. If she's not in the mood for that right now, there's probably a good idea to maybe skip on that movie. All right. And the final question today, guys, comes to us from Santez Henderson, who writes, I'm surprised no one talks about how the beginning scene with Bo and Woody in Toy Story 4 is the same scene with Hanks and Hunt in Castaway at the end. I don't know that that's true. I mean, I can see where you're coming from. I can see similarities. I can see the similarities there. I can see similarities. But I don't know that I don't think it's unmistakable similarities. I don't think it's, they are the same thing. You know what I mean? I think there's a couple of common themes there, but I don't see it that way. But it's one of the beautiful things about these Toy Story movies is you can look at it and you can see a lot of these different parts. So, hey, maybe you're not alone in that. I don't see it yet myself, Santez. I got to admit, I don't see it myself. But it's cool that you kind of see those similarities. And it is Tom Hanks. So, I don't know. Maybe he thinks the same way, too. It's an interesting thought. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Special thanks, of course, to my guest today, actress Erin Cummings, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Erin will be back Thursday. Robert will be back again tomorrow, of course, and the whole show will be back again tomorrow. Make sure you guys plan on joining us for the next installment of the John Campea Show tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we'll have a lot of fun stuff to talk about. All right, guys. Extra special thanks to all of you for joining us here, making this a fun place to be, making it fun for me to do it. And thank you guys for those of you who sent in questions because you gave us fun things to talk about and you supported the channel while you were doing it. And I thank you deeply for that. All right, guys, that'll do it for me for now. Have a great day. Don't forget, check my social media a little bit later tonight because I'm going to that Lion King premiere tonight. I will be putting out probably a couple of pictures from the red carpet. Definitely going to be putting up a reaction after the movie is done. Keep your eyes open for that. That'll do it for me for now, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. My name is John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.